aware. It's key for these matches. And speaking of the beast, Veno, Vico, Flixie once again in a fight.
Yeah, they weren't having any luck dealing with Upple's team, so they decided let's head Boxcar's direction for map 2 instead and see whether or not that fare a little bit better for their surge plan overall. But Gripe also refusing to budge deep inside his box, kind of just settled away, knows that he doesn't have the HP to continue this exchange just yet. Vena with this reposition though, gonna have the opportunity to hold them outside the edge of zone.
Yeah, it's a good job or a good play to just kind of look back here. The issue is there are quite a few trios in the area. I mean, it's not an issue for Veno, Vico, Flixie. It's more openings for them. But I think they are thinking to themselves, you know, this fight's going to take a bit too long. I did see Vico kind of sneaking up to maybe find an angle, but we'll look back at Akira, Podesai here, who have lost X-Sweeze, as now they're kind of playing it out as a duo in the edge of Night Shift. Malabuka has found something.
And the problem here is that Malabuka is sniffing out the fact that this might have been the trio that they've been taking shots at initially. And Akira, they're hiding, but Malabuka definitely knows something's up. He's trying to be careful, but every top tier player would recognize when a team is just trying to full on bail, and Podesai running off in the distance there. Malabuka still willing to give chase though, because this would be their surge strategy, similar to what they did to Clownski in the last match. We're just picking them off for trying to go for those reboot plays early.
His stomach is rambling. He's hungry. He wants a couple more eliminations as he spotted off the duo. They know they have the advantage in the situation as the wall replace comes through. One more. Malabuka looking to get this, but a pre-fire is going to come through. Podesai taking down Malabuka. Ping Walks forced to play it in a 2v2 now. They were looking so confident going into this engagement, and now, in the blink of an eye, drop down to an even fight.
And Podesai knows it. He's definitely trying to make sure that he lets Malabuka's team know what's good. Podesai, a couple more splashes left to go here. He's also got a water sprite to use, but Walks having been knocked. This is absolutely disastrous for Malabuka's team, because Ping, the sole survivor, maybe he'll be able to get this revive off now that he's able to teleport away with Walks' knocked body. But at the same time, Takada, their strategy to essentially find those eliminations inside of the storm and then push in a little bit later off the dead side because they have solid surge, completely turned against them. Now they have to try and play, can we recover Malabuka or not?
What a turnaround from Podesai and Akira. I mean, they did exactly what they had to keep themselves up. And now looking at Walks, looking at Malabuka, looking at that whole trio, they've got to find a way not only to reboot their team, but also get them with enough loot, refarm the materials they can't already hold, and not only that, get themselves into zone. So depending on kind of where they're positioned already, it's going to be a journey for them to get the end game. Meanwhile, CZB, Nathan Eclipse playing Fishing Simulator here at the Lake by Boxcars.
And this is also another one of those teams that I think has definitely popped up on the public's radar as far as capability to perform. Uncontested at Twinkle Terrace. We've definitely seen some highlight reel moments as well coming out of this trio. But at the same time, you never want to find yourself getting caught and held. And that's what Cade, Mappy, and Cringe are trying to avoid. Cade especially not having a Void Oni mask. It's just gonna have to depend on this fishing hold. Clearly invested a lot of time as is, so they'll at least not have to worry about rotating with the rest of the pack. They can definitely spend a little bit more time kind of trailing behind.
As we switch back over to Rift Island once again, Shogun's Arena. It is going to be Blaha, Mixon, and Combek that are going to be looking to take down the Shogun boss here. And, you know, hopefully make use of that medallion to help them on in the upcoming segments of this match. Looking at the mini-map, there is a trio on that snowy hill by them. Combek is aware of this due to those surge bases, so they're trying to kind of think ahead of time. Where can we look for some of these tags? Is just the edge of Rift Island is in zone here, and most likely not going to pull in the next zone, so almost guarantee that they will have to rotate away. When are they going to make that rotation is kind of the key factor.
But what's nice is having that position from Shogun's Arena. They're going to be able to at least spray at other teams and essentially push other teams from wanting to rotate directly under them for where their most optimal rotate path into zone would be. So they'll also have a good chance, I think, of being able to spot out which Mountain Rangers they want to take over. Giannis, though, has been brought back into this match, and this is for good reason. Chap gonna be revived thanks to his teammates winning this fight out, but they want to take over. The last fight they'll have to find themselves in, because with those surge ticks starting to come into play, it could be a serious issue, and Noah Riley doesn't have any material.
That's a great point, because like you said, another fight is going to have to take place. I mean, not only do they have to refarm materials from scratch, but they just don't have enough to fully make it into this end game and play it out. So they will have to refarm what they can, get to zone, and kind of hunt down a potential opponent to make a play on. But it looks like, speaking of trios that kind of had a little comeback, Walks, Ping, and Malabuka now back in business together as a trio after what went wrong outside of the zone. But issue is now they will have to make their way back in, but hopefully they've been doing enough damage. As we'll take a look here, 179 above, not too, I mean, it's not too bad, but it's not enough either. So the job is definitely not finished.
If you want a real stab at trying to control the high ground with the likes of Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache in the lobby, though, Takada, it is nowhere near enough. They're going to have to take a fight from another team that's hopefully, in their minds, more tatters than what they are coming into the zone late. Noah Riley, though, might have just found his target here. Trulex, Tayson, Chicho trying to see if they can escape, but Giannis hot on their heels, looking to break down their walls, just pickaxing his way through.
If they want to finish this, they have to do it quickly. Either go for a pre-edit, go all in, or you got to get yourself to zone as well. They're not even in here, so it is going to start taking as the shots come back onto Giannis now, looking to play more aggressive. Noah's going in. You got to help him. Back up your teammate, as now they're all pushing together. It's Nako on the other end of the door. Splash is going to come through to recuperate what they lost. Trulex close by as well. It's a party of multiple trios not in the zone, as now shots continue to come through. Trulex getting cracked. Chap getting cracked. Everything's onto Tayson as they're jumping right into his box, and he is gonna fall shortly after.
But who's really benefiting here? Because Giannis trying to get that double revive right now from Chap and Noah Riley, but Nyarko immediately assaulting them from above, not trying to allow them a chance to regenerate any of the HP. They know that there's bodies inside of those boxes, but they'll opt to fall back to a separate position. They think that they'll have better odds if they just look back and spray with everyone else in the lobby.
The thing is, you don't want to spend too much time spraying here. If I'm Nako's trio, I want to, look to see if I have an opening, but after, they got to get to zone themselves. There's another trio that's going to be holding Nako, Kharko, and Kire when they try getting to zone, so the more time they spend here, the more difficult that rotate is going to be. They can even opt to maybe recycling the builds of Chap's trio if they do end up getting behind them, but what they have to do here is focus on that rotate.
Yeah, and that tree proving to be one of Nako's biggest enemies right now does give a little bit of a safety net there for Noah Riley, Chap, and Giannis to rotate through. But coming up right at the bottom of this surge base, Mongro, Mr. Savage, this could be a real prime opportunity for them to find a team that's a little bit beat, but like able to fight back. And the thing is, Savage, Panzer, Mongro, they need the damage more than anything. They're sticking around in this surge base for a decent amount of time, and 209 above, sure, it's a little comfortable, Takada, but it's nothing you can get cozy with.
I think I even saw them, pre-fire the Oni mask onto Panzer just in case he ends up getting pushed, so his team can back him up. I would think it would be the other way around where Panzer would go back to height, but we'll see what ends up happening as nice shots are being connected from Mr. Savage. Now 423 above, as the next zone is going to appear here in just a second, and they'll be able to make a decision on if they want to stay at that elevated mountain or if they have to make a rotate. But I drop Sky and Scroll with 2 eliminations on the board, incredibly far from the zone. Definitely have to make a rotate here.
Sky, Scroll, I drop. They're really just trying to gauge which of these mountain hills they want to try and avoid or take over, even if given the opportunity. And they're going to find just pushing a little bit northward. They do have to deal with Batman and Volko from behind them, spraying out their walls. with the Typhoon Blade, though. Sky is just gonna look to try and make this fast rotate. He knows that there's a surge base directly above him, but this could be an opportunity here for Sky, Scroll, and iDrop to get a little bit fraggy. Maybe if they decide to chop out the floor of that team in the base above them, find some quick eliminations, and that could change the game as far as their end game is concerned.
Malibuca Ping walks. Great job of putting themselves in prime positioning for the zone here from what was a rough kind of mid-game with one of them getting eliminated to now being back in business above Storm Surge. On the other end though, Vanya just on the borderline, only 4 above, quickly knocked down to 20 below. Marius low on shield, forced to recuperate some as shots are going to be looked to getting connected, but it is going to be Venno down below them looking for a triple spray, looking for anything that they can possibly get.
But Vanya can't afford to hold these peaks for too long. Instead, they're gonna have to make this next rotation a little bit more central to where everybody else is at. Vanya, though, not gonna have the opportunity alongside his teammates to continue looking for those tags. Instead, he has to make sure that he pops from those shield potions. And the other thing too, Takada, we're witnessing the night and day difference between having control over that Shogun's Arena in Lobby 1 versus where Vanya's team currently sits now.
So much more difficult not being able to conserve those materials and looking for those tags at those elevated positions. But the good news is they've got AR ammo to spare. They can triple spray this all they want, keep applying pressure as much as they need to continue elevating that damage. As now the Storm Surge ticks come through, more openings are going to be seen from Vanya and his trio as they can just keep on spraying and spraying, and it is going perfectly for this trio, even picking up an elimination alongside it.
The only real downside there is that they couldn't go pick up those type of materials after the fact, but they know the entire lobby was looking at that team on edge, and it is no good currently. They've got to make sure they keep pushing forward. Sky as well, trying to maintain a slightly elevated position here on the low ground. Yanis in a hot spot of trouble. He's been knocked. Sky, Scroll, iDrop, they want inside his box immediately. Typhoon Blade, Xing Xing all around, and Yanis not gonna have the chance. He's gonna be eliminated.
What a quick finish from Sky, iDrop, and Scroll. They don't even need to continue that forwards as the zone is already moving. If you look up in the clouds, though, it's going to be Predige, Radion, Rax. They're holding on to height so far. Can they maintain it?
It's whether or not their builds are able to hold out, but when the rest of the lobby is so scuffed with how much elevation they have to actually cover, this could be the saving grace for the high play. Although nothing's ever safe when it comes to the high ground, as long as Queasy, players like Malibuca's team, still lurking around. Malibuca, though, just trying to find an opportunity to fish all that chaos taking place in the layers above him. But inside of this water run at Foxy Floodgate, this could be the real difference maker for the late game.
Love that they were pre-firing the Oni masks onto the opposing height just in case it does pull towards it. Venno, Flixie, and Vico playing, I want to say almost a little bit safer. Maybe they got a little scared from what happened in the previous game. 3 elims on the board, still a lot, but not exactly what we would expect as they go for the chop on high. This could be massive for the trio if they're able to contest it. That knock is everything. It now puts them in a 3 versus 2 alongside that high ground. Are they going to continue contesting it, or have they just taken it?
Predige was already down and out for the count, so that's just going to leave Venno to immediately catapult himself ahead straight towards the front side of his next zone, cranking upwards, just trying to get the overall scope out of the lobby. But there is no one to challenge Venno's team just yet. They are committing so much hard material here, Takada, and it's for good reason.
Exactly that, as Merstash, Queasy, and Swizzy didn't see that opening for height this time around so early. Now lower on materials are forced to play by the water here as there's just so much pressure on their surroundings. The issue with the zone is it continues pulling through water. It's so many materials that will have to be used, but Venno said, where are my eliminations? I want to get a bit more fraggy this time around. I don't care that we have height. I need to find some more picks as Flixie continuing to take those shots and stay ahead.
Sky, though, inside of the mid-ground layers, trouble is brewing. He knows that height has them completely focused out. They're going to opt to try and shift back towards some pre-existing builds of theirs, but again, Vico, Flixie, Venno, they just continue to hold down height, and down below, inside the waterway itself, teams just getting absolutely smothered together.
Swizzy's already gone down. Murstache now forced to back up as him and Queasy are put into panic. Blaha Mixon looking for shots, unable to connect one though, but they find Marius, they found Vanya. Murstache now looking to get some shots. Can they find a free picking? Yes, they can. Marius goes down to Murstache, bumping his eliminations up to 5 as they continue to find a way back to zone, but they're not even done.
Darm, welcome to your first grands, because Wax Malabuka on the other side of those walls, but it's going to be Demas who might be able to actually keep the Polish hopes alive here, just managing to swiggle away from where Wax and Malabuka are currently standing. But Malabuka, he can't afford to take another tick of storm. He's got to make sure that he follows zone all the way through. Wax immediately lit up the moment that he tries to layer swap.
Malabuka versus Murstache. What is this history? Teammates now opponents, as you have to be careful. Malabuka goes down. The zone's pulling right back to the dam. They need to get elevated here. You cannot stay down below. You're going to get cut off from zone as Murstache is looking to see what he can do with just 2 builds to his name. 28 HP, 50 shield. All it's going to take is one big pump shot to take out Murstache.
But Murstache knows he's going to be forced to try and play from this backside position. Now looking to just try and hold down, hold out for as long as possible. Every placement counts. They didn't have the materials in the first place. That's why he's even low ground to begin with. But he's not the only one suffering here. Scroll, Sky, Eyedrop just cutting their way through the madness. Finally managed to find a solo, but Xtrus makes sure that his name is known. Getting the better end of this exchange now. It's all going to be Murstache dropping to try and see if he can recover some of that body loot, but Rax immediately puts that dream down.
Mixon, full trio up. Blaha comeback now. Have to decide what's the game plan. Do we have an opening for height? Do we have to drop down low? The decision needs to be made as the Oni masks are going to come through to avoid that fall damage and conserve those last couple materials that they have. The fight for the low ground is about to commence as Mixon, Blaha, comeback looking for angles. Go on in. Demus goes down. Vico, though, he's not going to let that one slide as he takes out Blaha. Looking to follow up shortly with comeback. Just 20 HP on the clock. Gets the siphon. It's enough to stay up, but now it's Flixie gonna be able to out-heal. The Oni mask come through. Flixie's not even finished. This is what it takes to be a champion.
Anything you can do, I can do better. Venno, the fact that his team is the one to walk away with this match 2 victory, Takada, that is a direct shout out to Queasy and co. And I just cannot picture a better way to seal the deal than with the way that they were able to essentially commandeer height for pretty much the priority of this late game. And even after losing it momentarily to Comet behind Mixon, it did not deter them in the slightest. They just got fraggy at the end of it.
Oh yeah, that zone was perfect as well. After they were able to take height, there was so many changes in the elevation due to that dam that they just had almost a free picking up on high ground. But you could also see how their playstyle kind of changed a little bit from the first game. They got picked too early. They didn't take as many of those early to mid-game engagements, but just like we're used to seeing, once it reached the end game, they started getting fraggy. Vico, Venno, they were dropping down. They were looking for picks, and they made it happen. But I want to go back to the desk because you guys gotta break down what we just witnessed.
Well, I think what we just witnessed was another high ground masterclass, but this time from Queasy's ex-duo, Venno, and the rest of his trio, because the guys, once they claimed height from Pradaj, chopping him down, they were just unstoppable. I know I'm pretty much repeating exactly what I said about Queasy Mini Minor, but it was textbook.
Yeah, this is a slightly different high take in the way that they actually chopped down the team that were already on height. Really, really nicely done. They reinforced, then did what the team up on height didn't do, made sure that they weren't able to get chopped out. And I think the crucial moment there, Levin, I think it was the 11th zone, maybe the 10th zone that actually pulled back onto the builds that they had before. So from there on out, they were just so much higher than the rest of the lobby. Everyone else had to sort of slalom through all the old builds, and it was just really, really well played. And what we more expect from this trio.
Yeah, it saved them so many materials, right? And I mean, the casters were sort of hinting at it. It feels like we are just on that crash course to both those teams colliding, right? You know, Queasy and them, they didn't have as many mats, so they didn't play it. So Venno and them were like, all right, we'll do our thing, we'll take it. But like you mentioned, Minnie, the differences in how they both play for height shine there. These guys are all about chopping height. Look at them, they're just chopping through the builds there. The team up on height has no clue at all. All three of them pickaxes out. The Italians racks didn't see it coming. And then the beams, look at Venno in his element. The beams to get him out of there. I was a bit worried they were just going to start building up on wood there. Thankfully, Venom built some metal. I think Vico got a bit too excited there, as he does, we know that. But still, they were able to maintain a height here throughout the rest of this game. And now I just want to see what happens when you have both of these teams healthy looking for height. Right? Because that's really what we're building up towards now. One height game from Queasy, one height game from Venno. When both of them are in the lobby and they both want to play high, who comes out on top? Because, you know, both these teams got absolute shooters on their sides. Flixie and Vico just popping off there, getting all the limbs they needed towards the end to close out that game. Vico, that's where he's most comfortable, right? You allow Vico to drop down from height and frag out. Might not be any player better than him in the region. The only person that looks like they can match him right now might be Mustache. So yeah, these two teams right now are so thrilling to watch.
Well, I am desperate to talk about Mustache as well, but unfortunately we have to slalom, to quote Mini Miner, into the break. We'll see you in a few. And welcome back to FNCS Europe. We are 2 games into our Major 1 finals, and we've still got plenty more Fortnite action coming your way. But let's talk about what happened in Game 2. And Levin, I want to talk to you first of all about Trulux, Chicho and Taysom, because they were your team that you were concerned about, should we say, in the pre-show. Yeah. But the thing you were not concerned about, I believe, is the struggle for Surge that they witnessed in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, you'd never really expect these guys to have any sort of mid-game problems, and we saw this fight here between, you know, Janice's trio who were a bit low on Surge, Taysom's trio a bit lower as well, so both teams are sort of willing to fight, right? They both need the damage, and even though this wasn't one of the concerns we sort of highlighted, Mini, this is a general concern of this team, right? In terms of just actual like fighting power, right? Obviously you have Chicho, who's a prominent sort of aimer, and you know he's going to be able to hold his own in fights, but you know that was the concern about Trulex and Tayson. If they end up in these sort of mid-game fights, can they hold their own? And there they get picked off, which ain't too great.
Yeah, and it was a home zone for them as well, right? They had the zone right on their drop spot, and it was one of those situations where you think, why were they below Surge? Why were they in that situation in the first place? Because we highlighted it at the beginning. They're so good at doing that. I suppose sort of sometimes when you do get the zones pulling to your drop spot, maybe you just stay too stagnant and not a lot of teams try to sort of rotate around and try and find fights. But right there, we saw exactly why this team haven't been able to get wins. It just showcases they haven't necessarily got that fragging power, the firepower to pick up refreshes, not just in the mid game there, but also in the end game. So yeah, definite concerns right there that they went down that early, because I mean I was definitely expecting to make sort of 10 or 12 or 11 or 12 end games. I mean, that's not a great performance from them at all.
Well, we're having a great performance from Lennon, the analyst. Lennon. I know. What is wrong with me? I'm just going to call you Mr. 2K. Mr. 2K, you made a sterling prediction earlier as well when you talked about one of the teams that was going to surprise in the lobby today, and Pixstorm and Demas. They were doing just that in game number 2. Demas was fragging for the gods.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The clutch was crazy. I will say, Frankie, you can't call me Mr. 2K. It's too cool. The fans already think you hate me. If you call me that, they'll think it's tension between us.
Monsieur 2K.
I think Demas, Pixstorm, again, they're a team that I think quality-wise, what they've shown this season is that they can be an elite team. And that clutch from Demas just goes such a long way in proving that. Like, the guy's getting 7 limbs, just fragging out, staying alive. I mean, these guys, again, I think are gonna break the record for a new trio in EU in their first, grand final. I think they'll place higher than 8th. A good game from them there. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. I think they're a team that definitely can perform. We spoke about it earlier. I still share the same thoughts that I had at the beginning of potentially maybe they're getting contested by another team, but they're doing really, really well at the moment.
And who else is doing really well is, of course, Merstash. Now, I mentioned earlier with Malibuka could get the back-to-back today, but Merstash is going for the back-to-back-to-back in terms of Major 1 final wins. Could be 3rd year in a row that he seals the deal very early in the season. And he was so determined to do that. Yet again, this game, Mini-Miner, fragging out of his mind.
Yeah, just doing what Mustache does, what we know he can do, picking up eliminations, doing what he does best. And this is exactly what we kind of expect to see out of a Major 1 Mustache at this point, Levin. I think this is just kind of becoming a trend that's almost impossible to ignore. He seems to just perform best at the beginning of the year. He likes to get the job done early. He can sort of take his foot off the gas potentially for the rest of the year. But right now, I mean, thinking just on this game in particular, absolutely incredible stuff, and it's exactly what this team need. Considering they're contested, they need to make the most out of all of their games that they're getting into.
And you have to remember, he was actually in his element in terms of where he's most comfortable. Of course, Queasy's turned these guys into like the height guys, but remember, Mustache is the original, I don't want to be on his mid-ground layer because he's going to give me problems. So it was nice to see him back in that zone.
The only time that Merstash and Mid will ever be in a sentence together. Thank you so much, boys. We're going to head straight to the cast, though, because game number 3 is ready.
Thank you, Frankie. We're not even halfway done yet, Taco. We still have these storylines building. It looks like it's kind of a battle for height between Queasy, Swizzy, Merstash, and Vico, Veno, Flixie. Who's gonna get more of those high ground victory royales? I don't know. Time will tell, but we're definitely in for a show.
All I know, Takata, is I want to see some other big names kind of step up to the plate here. It can't just be Queasy and Veno hitting home runs as far as today is concerned. So game number 3, let's see what you got.
That's the focus of the end game, but looking at the early game, we have had this back-to-back off-spawn engagement. It's Lost Lake, Kami Seti, Chari up against Podosai Xwiz and Akira. Will it happen once again? So far 2-0 in favor of Akira and his trio. Will they be able to turn things around, as we're actually going to take a look at Seaport, where we've seen the top trio right now contesting Momsy, Shakeoff, and Skyjump, not really allowing them to breathe.
The problem, though, is that Queasy got the building he wanted, but the elemental chest inside of it, and so that's going to be problematic as far as Skyjump, Shakos, and Momsy are concerned. But again, scenes here at Lost Lake. Shari finally trying to put Poland on the map here as far as Lost Lake is concerned, because this has been all ooh la la as far as the day is concerned.
I want to see something happen here. It's all up to kind of getting that good loot off the rip, hitting those shots you need to connect. And I don't know how this is going to affect Cherry, Cammy, Seti going into these matches, having already lost 2. But so far, it's not instant aggression from either trio. It's more pop shots back and forth, as it seems that Xsui's, Akira, and Podosai are even kind of disengaging a little bit from main.
Well, potentially some other contenders taking note, and it would appear as though Shari able to find that knock initially. Had some questions raised here, but now Akira trying to see if he can help fend off a little bit longer here for Podosai. The issue is that he just doesn't have so much ammo to work with. He needs to get closer if he wants to make use of that SMG that he's currently holding on to, and Akira from the rooftop knows it's only a matter of time before Shari and the gang close in enough to find that full elimination onto Xsui's.
Space has been closed. Podosai was wanting to pick him up, but they're not going to have time anymore. They heard Seti, they heard Cammy. They're close by now. It's going to be a 3 versus 2 to close this one out, as the elevated position is going to be in favor here. The push is going to come through, looking to see what they can find. Podosai left alone, but he's going to take out Cherry, as now it's back into a 2 versus 2. Cammy and Seti forced to make something happen. Akira now in the fight, as Seti's been fully cracked. Goes down, leaving it all up to Cammy, and once again, 3-0 for Podosai, Akira, and Xsui's.
If you asked anybody what they would have figured would happen here at Lost Lake, the last thing that they would have told you, Takada, is that it would be Podosai's team winning this off spawn consistently, back to back to back, the hat trick on top of Poland. And the real issue now begins to stem, Takada, because day 2, we don't have that 1.5 times point multiplier. So for Cammy, Seti, and Shari, a team with so much pedigree to be struggling this heavily in day 1, they have seriously got to turn things around if they want this Major 1 finals to go anywhere near their favor.
Heartbreaking start, as we see the cons now of taking so long to finish up these engagements, though. It's just that opening for the third party, Hijo, Trexler, Robin to come on through. They're invited to the party now, as Podosai is going to go down. And Robin, Hijo, and Trexler are going to come out on top in that third party, getting the leftover loot. Now Akira is going to have to play this one slow.
Fortunately, though, for Akira, he was at least separated enough from the fight that there is a decent odds at his survival. So we might see him be able to make that reboot possible. Nako, on the other hand, doesn't want to give Andy the chance. Ju trying to see if he can close in, try and provide a little bit of a revive opportunity there for his teammate, but that's going to leave Shark all alone on the high ground. Granted, Akira doesn't exactly have the HP that you would want to take up this exchange. It's not going to matter, though. Shark put down just like his fellow comrades, and now Nako, knowing it's only Ju left to fend for himself.
Oh, gotta be careful though, as the shot's gonna go back onto Nako, but his teammates are gonna back him up as they take home that fight. Merstash, though, looking to continue with the aggression from last game. Shing, right into the box as he gets taken out himself. What's going on in his mind as Swizzy and Queasy are gonna have to clean this up for Merstash, as now Queasy has been knocked as well. It's all up to Swizzy, everything on the line. But if any player is gonna make it happen, 2 quick pump shots is all it's gonna take.
The problem, though, is Queasy's already been eliminated. Swizzy knows that Merstash, he's been extended a little bit of a lifeline here, and he's gonna opt for the TP away with the body. Doesn't manage to actually take Merstash with them, though, because the third party from Kate, Cringe, and Mappy, they're gonna be the only ones profiting off of this box fight.
That's the issue with these lobbies. All these trios have studied their surroundings. When they see in the feed a fight's going on and it's close to them, they're gonna take a peek at it. They're gonna look for any potential benefit they can get. And for Mappy, Cade, and Cringe, it's gonna be a quick elimination on the leading trio currently on the leaderboard.
If I'm Venno, I've got a really big smile on my face after that one, though. Bound to be keeping tabs on that elimination feed, but can't lose focus just yet. Can never ease off the pressure in these kinds of final set lobby circumstances. Venya, Medius, Pixie, they also know exactly what's on the line, and they've consistently been encountering Lushi's trio coming out of that southern section of Shattered Span, still hanging around here in Hopeful Heights. Leads me to believe that that's a fight that they are still currently stuck in the midst of, but Pixie, he's gonna need some backup.
1 HP is what was left for Pixie, as he's quickly gonna have to recuperate that with some chug splashes. Vanya gonna get by him, kind of help him out here, hold his walls while he heals back up. But you gotta be careful. More trios already inside of the zone are just taking shots back at them now, kind of not letting them freely get back into storm or zone. As Vico, Veno, Flixie now feeling a bit more confident once again, continuing with this aggression that we're more used to.
There's one thing that's for sure, is that Veno likes to get aggressive in the early game because they can always fall back to their origin point, get plenty of loot here. But Veno, he's waiting for the opening, wants to see if he can get a good chunk out of Batman, and Batman just continuing to try and hold on to this ramp as long as possible. Gonna scurry on over, regroup with the rest of his team as much as possible. This team, though, Vico's, so much trust within each other and their fragging capabilities. Vico even opting to try and set up the pre-edit early on, just hoping for any sort of close commitment, because Vico, Veno, and Flixie know the time is of the essence here, and they don't want to spend more than what they have to fighting another team.
The good news is they're very aware there's not too many trios close by, so they can take just a bit longer to finish this one off. But from shots getting connected onto Flixie, onto Vico, now forcing them to use a bit more of those shields, they're gonna have to play defensive for a second here, as Veno makes use of his time to reform a bit. And now they've kind of sensed that danger of Pink getting close, and it's gonna cause them to disengage.
Smart. Veno is always keeping tabs from that elevated position whenever these box fights are taking place, to make sure that they don't actually get encroached upon like some of the other teams we've already seen fall apart in this early game for it. Klonsky, Gudenbry, and Moneymaker, though, they're also close by to this bird to go coming out of that western portion of the map from Whiffy Wharf, but whether or not they actually want to get directly involved is a different story here at Takata, because match number 1, we saw how heavily that worked against them, and I think that kind of just put the message in the back of their mind. They're going to play this one a little bit slower, play and make sure that they have a guaranteed advantage.
Yeah, mentality is tough, especially in a 2-day competition like this, and how kind of the game changes based on what happened in previous matches. Not only if something went wrong, but just you're kind of aware maybe of a new rotate from the trio that wasn't previously there, anything that kind of caught them off guard. As you look at Pix, Darm, Themis, Mike Levin was saying, shout out to this trio. I mean, competing in their first ever FNCS Major Finals, 113 points on the board. I mean, I believe they're in 6th place so far. I think if they want to make history, they gotta get at least top 8 to break that previous record. So I think they definitely can make something happen.
Within their sights, but can't get too amped off of halfway through day 1 just yet. Want to remain as composed as possible. Comeback completely caught off guard, though. Cringe. What a valuable time to pop up here. Just ensures that his teammate's going to be able to actually get to a safety position, and now it's going to be Comeback forced to expend some of his shield. That looked like a real opportunity here for Blaha, Mixon, Comeback, but instead now they're going to be forced to wait for the next opportunity to arise, because even though they've got this elevated position, Cringe, Mappy, Cade, they're already bailing.
Yeah, and that's the only other trio in sight currently. So, I mean, the more time they take, I guess more trios will potentially start rotating through, but sometimes you just take too long, as it seems to be happening once again. X-Squeeze, Akira Podesai, as I believe I saw Malabuka close by. Can we see a potential repeat?
Let's see that bite back from match number 2 is the exact reason why we see Malabuka's team actually opting to go in pairs this time around. They don't want to look for that solo engagement. They don't want to find themselves having to play for the reboot. And now, Podesai held just a little bit outside that edge of zone. Malabuka in the trees even, just making full use of everything the map has to offer. But Wox knows they need to get some tags going. They want to get their surge as early as possible so they can then focus one more time on those rotations.
I mean, it kind of shows that even the previous match didn't affect them too much. They're not going to stop playing aggressive now after that 3v2 kind of turned into a loss. So they'll continue playing aggressive. They'll continue looking for opportunities outside of their surroundings at night shift. As we look at Scroll kind of choosing to play the bush here while his teammates are on the surge base, just for more openings, more angles.
And one issue that I think has been presented to this team is kind of the history that's just hovering over iDrop's head. You're looking at someone with so much tenure, but their best finals placement having actually been a 7th place finish. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Sky Scroll. This is a Danish duo, now trio, on the up and up that has essentially been showing steady and consistent improvement, and it's been at a relatively rapid pace. So now the question that iDrop is essentially having to answer to everybody at home watching is, can he actually overcome that placement history? Can he continue to rise with these two Danish stars in Sky and Scroll?
Well, this is a good event to make it happen. In 7th place currently, they're on route to make greatness as Vico Veno Flixi once again in a quick engagement. Rizori is going to be on the opposing end though, going down to Veno. Quick elimination on the board. Not too troublesome at all for this trio. Because now, they got leftover materials. They got everything they need here.
They got cap mats. Most importantly of all here at the Kata, and poor Rizoi didn't even know what hit him. I mean, which direction are you even supposed to look at that point when you've got 3 separate players just bombing your walls at the same time? Only so much left to be done from that position. And talking about positions, this could be a very good one for Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and Panzer, currently in control of the Shogun's arena. And with the way that these zone pools have been dictated so far, teams have had the opportunity to essentially stick around a little bit longer for at least one zone more and look for those tags, look for that damage, but they're not the only ones that seem to have that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's pretty centered, so there is that kind of chance, that slight potential that we see it closer to the end game. Being able to stay on top of that island during that moment, having it claimed can be key to leading to a victory royale. As we look back at Blaha Comeback Mixin on the opposite kind of edge of the zone here.
It's like the calm before the storm. It's what it's really feeling like right now. And Mixin Blaha Comeback, they had that spill earlier on, closer to boxcars, where they were unable to connect the shots that they had been hoping for up against Cringe's team. So they're still looking to play from those slightly elevated positions. But again, if they're not finding the tags that they need, they're not going to continue to be able to try and hold on to those height spots, because other teams are going to look to try and scoop them out from underneath them.
Looking over to Noah, Chap, and Yanis though. Like we saw with Blaha and his trio, making use of farming during your rotations. As they get closer and closer to a position that they can kind of look for more tags from. Having 0 eliminations, they're just focused more on those long-range tags, not playing fully aggressive. The issue is zone has pulled quite far here, so they're probably want to start rotating as quickly as possible to potentially maybe even catch some trios off guard that are rotating in later. But for Nako, Kire, and Harko, they're just on the edge of this next zone, so they don't have to move just yet.
This is still big for them as far as their surge is concerned, because they're catching wind of all these teams that are rotating from a little bit later on out of Twinkle Terrace, out of Night Shift Forest. They're trying to make use of this zone pool and just holding teams as long as possible. Preemptively placing the Void Oni Mask in case they get a chance to key. All it takes is one knock, and that will be that immediate Green says go. Let's make sure that we are getting active in this lobby.
Unless it's on Veno, then you get a little scared of Rico. Then you're like, oh, do I? No, I'm just kidding. If that was me, I mean, yeah, but for these players, they're veterans. Tina, Hariska, V, 140 above have openings on the players that are still rotating in here, but Volko, Batman, and Fastroki, they're not going for long range engagements. They're going straight into the action onto Pinks, Nebs, and Chino. You got to be careful as Fastroki, Batman have lost almost all of their shields so far, being only 5 below. Is it worth it to risk it all? With no materials, it might be.
But Volko knows that without any sort of mats, actually dragging out this fight up against the likes of Pink, Nebs, and Chino, it's going to be next to impossible. They're either going to have to fight or they're just going to get third-partied. And so choose what's right in front of you or wait for what's about to make its approach, because Grife's team wants a piece of the action. Chino knows it though. Fastroki just a little bit too desperate, and that's going to be Chino's sign to get in there. That first elimination, a big opening statement from Pink.
Great job playing defensive from Nebs, Pink, and Chino, just waiting for one of their opponents to make a mistake to catch them off guard as a solo and get that pick. The issue is they don't even want to keep fighting this. They just want to get back to zone, as Yanis has somehow lost his whole team alongside himself, goes down. But Nebs, Pink, and Chino now just going to make their way towards the zone.
Unfortunately for Chap's team, Skyjump and Shakos were on the detour essentially of a lifetime because of what was happening at the start of this lobby. No Queasy, Murstache, and Swizzy to worry about means that other teams are gonna have to deal with a shift in search strategies, and that was the case there for Shaco, Skyjump, and Momsy. Just taking advantage of those rotations last minute. Malabuka though, he's been following Akita's team for so long coming out of Nightshade Forest, and now with one elimination on the board, he knows that there's several more that he might be able to get after.
I got concerned for a moment when we looked at Malabuka, as his teammates were almost fully cracked, but then I realized, okay, wait. They've got this situation under control so far, it seems. They're doing a bit of damage. Nobody's got it knocked yet, so we're good at the moment. I mean, this is a match where they have a chance to push themselves into that first place spot on the leaderboard. They're already so close. They just need one of those big games to make it happen. As being 301 above, it's not as much as they've had previously, but it's more than enough, especially the position they're in mid-zone. Let's see what happened to Teenies, V, and Harist, though. How they were able to kind of find some of these eliminations.
Medius, Pixie are also staring down Skyjump, Momsy, and Shakos, who overtook the position that we had just seen Chap's team in. That's part of the benefits of getting those eliminations. But they're looking at teams from both directions, and they forgot entirely about the one on low. Loki and Monet reminding Marius not to hold those edits open for too long. As now, Medius, it seems like they're really just trying to follow where the lobby focus is at, but they don't have time to pick and choose. They've just got to get things going because they need more damage. They're currently sitting 57 below.
And that decision is being made. The triple Oni mask is going to come through. The aggression is going to begin as Marius now looks for an opening inside of the box, but he's got to be careful on the side of the ridge. He's getting stuck, forced to pop a shield fish. Has to regroup with his team now, but he's already lost Vanya. Pixie's had a bit of time to recuperate his shield, now putting themselves 272 above, but at what cost?
Having already lost Vanya, Pixie, and Medius, no. Medius doesn't even have any shields. It's still a fight that he's probably got to commit to. I drop Sky and Scroll, though. They are in some trouble here because they don't have a whole lot of material to work with, and Sky just continuing to be a threat.
Marius gonna find a knock, though. They're continuing as a duo to make something happen. Not only have they put themselves above Surge, but now even picked up an elimination. It's possible. It's not easy, but it definitely is. Issue is only 100 HP, no shields to work with. Not even sure if Pixie has anything. Already getting tagged. Now they know that Marius doesn't have shield. It opens up kind of an option for that trio that took a shot onto them to play even more aggressive.
At the very least, though, Marius has so much material. He might not have shield, but if he can pinpoint any solo, any sort of duo lagging behind, even a trio, if they look like they're in a chalk position, it's something that Pixie and Marius are probably going to have to just commit to because they need some form of a shield refresh. They have to hope that there's goodies on those bodies should that occur, but Malabuka walks ping. They don't have as much surge as what we've been familiar to seeing them work with, but at the same time, Takata, they've got a pretty decent position, and they're making sure that they don't stay in the focal point of the rest of the lobby.
This is a surprise, though. Veno, Vico, Flixie below Surge, being forced to kind of take these aggressive trades back and forth. Triple sprays both onto them and their opponents. Now Veno and Flixie has been cracked. Vico just a shot away. They do have the loot, the chug splashes, the water sprite, but they're deciding we got to make something happen. Either pre-edit, either go on in, replace the wall, anything we possibly can to open up at least an elimination or a bit more damage. But with the zone closing, the pressure is on.
Look, if there's ever a team I would never want to be desperate for Surge, it's this one because they've definitely got the fighting power to match it. Veno, though, teleporting doesn't get punished despite clipping that wind tunnel from underneath Shogun's arena. Still, he needs to find tags. His whole team knows that their fate in this lobby depends exclusively upon whether or not they can actually get this knock onto Malabuka. They need as much damage as possible. And finally, Vico providing a little bit of relief, cutting that gap all the closer to being above that threshold.
But you gotta be careful. Flixie's been knocked as well. It's all up to Veno and Vico to make something happen. The knock's gonna come through onto Ping. Can they take out the second place team on the leaderboard, or are all our top three trios about to go down? It's all up to Veno. He's left alone as a solo.
No shield, no whites. Veno from this position would have to be a miracle player. And he's not the only one that's stuck in it. Walks also using his last splash, trying to just work his way down, but he drops straight into the box of a healthy trio, and that's going to be the end of his run in Lobby 3.
This is an opening, though, for all of the other trios that were on that lower to mid half of the leaderboard, especially if Veno isn't able to make it out of this one. Onimask is going to come through, going to rebuild in wood. His last base might find an opening off the sky here. Some shots come through, but not enough to get a knock. Now the rotates are continuing as Veno is doing what he can to stay up, but as Monet comes from the back end, has to be careful, and Veno is going to go down.
Respect it, because at that point there's really no other options, but Monet knew a team in wood builds, they never stood a chance. Mongrel, Mr. Savage on height for the first time here today, Takata, but those builds looking a little bit slim here. Sky on the other hand, a solo with 12 HP, 16 builds left to his name, and just blindly teleporting, hoping that he doesn't get clipped in the process.
Wait, I'm gonna fight it.
I just got fucked by this bot.
I'm going on high, I'm going on higher.
Yeah, I'm gonna crack the bell.
I'm building.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Big, here.
I'm
150,
3-3-2.
Can I build Savage?
Yeah, I'll build. Let me pull this big first. Alright, take the TP.
150.
Panzer, take TP.
Yeah. Big.
Drop me metal.
Yeah.
TP. Drop me metal.
I don't know, about 20 mil.
Take. I'm gonna spear. Take metal behind.
I'm getting.
Wait, don't look to height, southwest.
I'm bobbing off my roll.
Marcus looking.
I'm connected.
Nice. Topping.
I'm
Coming
gonna
on
go
TP.
above a little bit. Someone can TP above.
I have 15 builds.
I have farmed metal.
I got
They're looking in. Cracked. Grab both of these dudes.
DPs.
Yeah, I'm gonna chuck him.
I have one shot.
Clearing. Topping. I'm almost. Yeah. I don't have the TP though.
There's team second fight.
They're here.
Nice.
Team second fight. Be careful,
No. Yeah, we need to split the stack teams as well a little bit. This team second eye, bro. 120 AR.
I got 90.
Monster.
This is the second
It doesn't.
I need hearts. Show me all your hearts. Show me
I have
all your
150
hearts.
wood.
Okay,
I have 30 bullets, 30 AR. Anyone got AR?
I don't need 30. I don't need 30. I don't need 30.
Yeah, I'm pushing all this.
Take TP, Savage.
Hold you with no match here.
Savage, take it.
There's second. Zone. They can skip out.
50.
Oh, they just rank.
We need to start dropping a bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build down a little bit.
30 white. Dead.
Nice.
Get that body, you can get that body.
Yeah, I'm outside.
Looking for it. Just waiting team second. Did you got a repush in here?
Yeah.
Take
I have some
no, I
bullets.
have nothing.
Drop down to my lair. Drop down to my lair. Drop down to my lair. One build.
Okay. I have 9 builds, 9 builds.
Yeah, I'm going to go mine.
Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Go second.
I have 2 builds. Someone else thinks
I have 7 builds. I'm gonna build.
Come to me.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop for. There's a trio and a duo and a solo right there.
I have 12 bullets, AR.
Zone.
3v2. Kill that kid in zone.
7. TP. We got
Go for another 10.
100.
Above us.
Dead.
Nice.
I'm building.
I don't net keep below.
Come here, Panzer, come here.
I'm getting wet.
It's a 2v1.
I'm splashing. Get the fuck out. Let's go. Let's go.
Second place in your first major finals. I mean, I want to see where they are on the leaderboard because they have been dominated.
They've for sure got to be set on track to beat out that record of an 8th place finish. But only time will tell whether or not that holds true here, Takata. For now, we're going to have to leave it to Frankie Levin and Minimine to tell us what went down in
Nice.
Hey, bro. Boss is just.
There's another team in front already.
This is what the fans want to see. Let's be honest. I don't care about all that other riff-raff, Venno and Queez in them. Show me Mongrel winning games in FNCS, throwing it back to Chapter 2, Season 4. It feels like Fortnite's healing. We're back. This is what we want to see, Mini.
It really is. I mean, I'm super happy for these guys managing to pick up a victory royale. The way they did it as well, we literally spoke about it at the beginning of the day. Get the island, save the materials, get your surge, get all the loot on the island that you get from it, and then there you go. You're up on height, which is exactly what this team managed to do. They saved so much from being up there, and then, of course, took height at a perfect moment. Couldn't be more happy for these guys managed to pick up a victory royale. And yeah, as you mentioned, Frankie, we haven't really seen them much throughout the rest or the beginning of the day, so let's see what they can do for the rest of the day.
So, Minnie, they had a game where everything went right for them. How much of these victory royales is therefore down to luck, and how much is down to just sheer excellence?
Well, I mean, it's a battle royale, so it's not necessarily no luck involved, but you're going to put yourself in the position to get into the best position possible, right? If you get that island, you get in that position, you're going to have the best chance of winning, and that's exactly what we've seen from Mongrel, Mr. Savage, and Panzer right there. I just want to see some of our bigger names, I guess, more sort of Queasies, Venos, people like that going up for this island, because we haven't seen it yet.
Well, we saw quite the mid-game, should we say, and we'll be discussing what exactly happened and who went down after this short break.
Para crecer es importante una adecuada nutrición. Pediasure tiene los 5 grupos de nutrientes clave y está reforzado con
continues to drop down. Last 3 builds to work with. A full trio jumping into Teeny's box. What can you do? As Jarko, Nako left as a duo. They've got 5 eliminations. They pushed themselves ahead of zone. Now with a refresh, not only do they get that...
No way.
Oh, it's actually Kire. It's their teammate. I didn't even realize they're about to be a full trio on low.
The fact that they went for the double revive and pulled it off here to Kata.
Yo, are people teleporting for you guys as well?
Can happen for this team.
Like, not like teleporting with like a TP, but like when they're running.
Can they manage to Polska Górem their way to a victory royale here? Now it's gonna be CZP caught in the crossfire. Nathan soon to
Like, I
follow.
don't understand how you guys are tagging kids that are running, because I literally can't.
They're still alive, ultimate low, but it might ultimately belong to them.
It might be their first major finals, but they said put some respect on our names.
Oh my god, we almost died there.
High ground. Mongrel gets cracked, dropped to 46 HP there. Gretchen's onto picks, but he gets knocked down. It's now a 2 versus 1. Mongrel Panzer all up against Darm as a solo. Can they clean this one out? They have every advantage to their name, but with the big pump coming through, Darm is gonna go down, and Panzer, Mr. Savage, and Mongrel.
Flip and go, man.
Come to me.
There's a trio and a duo and a solo there.
I have 12 bullets, AR.
3v2.
3v2. Kill that kid in zone.
7. TP. We've got...
Bro, that TP on high while this other guy chops us, that was perfectly fucking timed, bro, from that team.
No. I'm building. Come here, Panzer, come here.
I'll get you, Miles.
I'm splashing. Get the fuck out! Let's go.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Come on! Come on! What the fuck was that game, bro?
Good shit, boys. Good shit.
Let's go, boys. Come on.
Hey, chat, you fuck with the new lights in the fucking room, though? Chat, don't tell me these lights aren't clean, bro. The camera looks so much fucking better now. Alright. I'm leaking. Let's see. Ooh, let's see, bro. Alright, this is probably one of my favorite items from the fucking drop, bro. Alright. Look at this, bro. Look at this. It's so clean, bro. So clean, bro. Chat, doesn't this give you Travis Scott vibes? Chat, imagine this, and then you put on a pearl necklace, a silver watch, some bracelet, maybe you stack some chains, and then you got some baggy jeans on with a zip above it. You know what I mean? I'm hyped, boys. I'm fucking hyped for this shit. Anyways. Yeah. Bro, that island was fucking... so fucking... Bro, I couldn't do anything up there, bro. And all the people I was trying to tag from the island was literally just like running and teleporting. So I couldn't get any damage. And then I literally have this like fog from the island in my eyes, bro. So I can't even shoot the people. Blood, can you go and replay for us? And see what the fucking... how everybody died next to us. Cause I don't wanna go and replay and then my game crashed and we miss Q. Cause I'm so confused. How did Zerandi die? How did the fucking team landing Shogun die so late? Oh, they must have split Shogun.
Oh, I thought we got TP'd on then. Nice, we're doing it, Chad, we're doing it! I'm sorry, I know it's not game 12. I'm not even sorry, you guys aren't complaining. Come on! Savage, Mongrel winning the game. Chapter 6 FNCS Grands. Come the fuck on.
Yeah. I don't have the TP though.
Come on, chat. Take height, don't die. Step 1, complete. Ooh, the beams. Nice.
No.
We got 1 make hit.
We need to split the stack teams as well a little bit.
3 limbs.
Second eye, bro. 120 AR. 120 AR.
Top 20. We're looking good. Good pressure. Blood X will be so proud. We are shooting our guns.
Yo, are people teleporting for you guys as well? I need hard. Like, not like teleporting. Hey, shut the fuck up! Who the fuck is asking that question, dumbass?
Hard mats. They're running out of hard mats. No.
Yeah, a lot.
This is for the bingo board as well. We had the
Hey, Blood.
the bingo board.
tagging kids that are running, because I literally... We're in game in a minute and a half.
Wait, what are the odds on Savage here?
Try and pre-fire the teleport. I think I don't know.
50k from J-Bond.
That Shogun?
Oh my god, we almost died there.
Okay. We need to start up in a bit.
We're running out of ammo, running out of mats, we're running out of meds.
Yeah.
We're running out of gas. Did we overheat a little bit too early? Was the high take premature? This is still really good placement points, but the win would be massive here. Top 16.
There's narco or what?
Top 14. Winning a game in Grant in Chapter 6. Come on.
Drop down to my layer. One build. Come on, go.
TP's down. Nice. Oh, the mantle save. We've only got 2 builds left.
They're struggling with Surge. They're king.
We're on high ground. We're literally pumping walls because we have 6 AR bullets. Might as well throw the fucking
Okay.
gun.
While this other guy chops us, that was perfectly fucking time.
Nice.
On that
Top
team.
7.
Probably push north again now.
5. 3v2.
2v2. Build that kid in zone.
3v2. Come on. He's coming up. That's a freebie. We get chopped.
Go for another gun.
Well played by this team on low ground. Good coordination. Savage goes down. It's up to Mongrel and Panzer. No way.
Get mad.
2v1. 2v1. It's Dom. It's Dom's team.
It's a 2v1.
Mongrel's back up to full health. No shield though. Panzer's got the advantage. Players in Storm. Nice. Mr. Savage, Mongrel, and Panzer. Go, baby. Win the gaming grands in.
Yeah. Maybe we just make a move on there again. Like no matter the kill feed. But I don't know. Because then it's like, yeah. Because if one of the teams don't land there and it's just one team landing there, then we just fuck our whole game if we go there. If it comes from north.
Our world.
Comes from southeast. I don't mind. No. Loot normal or...
If they're just like... No, I don't see anyone.
I'm just going my shit as well, I guess.
What? You really think all the way at the beach? I'll try not to die, I guess. Just hard right over the Savage's path.
You shooting at you? Yeah.
They're gonna see this though, and they're gonna... No, they could push me.
They could push.
Para crecer es importante una adecuada nutrición. Pediasure tiene los 5 grupos de nutrientes clave y está reforzado con arginina y vitamina K2. Si tu hijo lo necesita, apoya su alimentación con Pediasure para que alcance su máximo potencial.
Okay, the price still 1 versus 2. This is all looking in Queasy's favor. And sure enough, Merstash, Queasy, they've got time to work with here. They know Shakos is out of the picture entirely.
Oh yeah, they get that siphon. Skyjump now on a sliver of HP. All it's gonna take is one bullet to connect as Merstash looks for an angle, but actually he's gonna go for the reboot. He says, you know what, we have time now. Skyjump doesn't have heals. He has to recuperate. We're gonna take this time to bring Swizzy back in the game, make it a 3 versus 1, and increase those odds of winning this off-spawn engagement to the maximum.
Now Skyjump could still look to be a nuisance here. Instead, it could be iDrop and Sky and Scroll who look to ultimately capitalize on this fight taking place here at Seaport City. Queasy trying to put up a front, trying to put up some defensive measures, but he just doesn't have enough left over from that first exchange. He's gonna have to fall back.
Yeah, I mean, they have this in mind as well. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll. It takes them, what, a minute and 30 seconds after the drop to start third-partying Seaport. They get there so quickly with the drop spot they have that it kind of shows the danger of taking too long to finish that Seaport City fight. But the good news is they saw the reboot come through. They know it's a full trio, and now the third party is kind of a little bit riskier. So they're just going to take those pop shots as usual. As we look at what happened by Lost Lake, it looks like, Taco, am I seeing this once again? Cammy and Seti going down to Podosai, Akira, and X-Squeeze. 4 for 4.
That's got to be devastating to the mental, but no time left to think about it because Clownski, Moneymaker, Gudenbree caught in a box fight all their own. Clownski, see if he can fall back, help out Moneymaker, but Moneymaker might not need the help based off how he just found that last elimination so cleanly. Instead, it's gonna be the third party out of Nathan and CZB that are the real threat here. Moneymaker forced to retreat back into these builds. Eclipse, though, already closing in, already getting the overhead angle. CZB Nathan as well perched and potentially looking to cut off every single avenue of escape.
Yeah, you saw them think about it. They were like positioned up to play aggressive here. They had all angles cut off, but they're like, you know, they're most likely full shield, full HP. It's gonna take a while. It's a little risky. And it looks like the disengage did come through as Eclipse got cracked by a whole other trio. Hopefully he is gonna be able to get out though as he's regrouped with CZP. ZZB now a bit of time to recuperate that shield, but the shots are still coming through.
Knowing that it's Umple's team, though, applying pressure.
Oh no.
Scroll, Queasy. This is so problematic, and Scroll does get that first elimination onto Queasy, which now leaves Swizzy, Merstash to fend for themselves. But iDrop, he's already gotten huge tags. He knows Merstash's shields are low, that he doesn't have a whole lot of HP to work with, and it's just a battle of attrition at this stage.
All players split up. Swizzy left alone as Merstash did what he could to escape. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll continuing with their third party. I think Skyjump ended up getting eliminated, but he was up there a second ago. As now they have to decide, do we continue the hunt here? Where is Merstash hiding? I mean, if Merstash, it looks like he is going to be able to get out, but even so, this is going to be a long match for them.
Yeah, because now Comic Blaha Mixon drawn towards Seaport after witnessing everything go down. Considering how close they are at Shattered Span, this is a really easy route of approach here, and iDrop gonna be the one trying to scramble through these buildings. Scroll as well. This Danish trio, Takata, has just been left in absolute shambles because of how long things drew out, trying to find those eliminations against Queasy's team. And sure, they might have gotten one of them, but at the same time, leaving yourself susceptible to all these third-party opportunities, everyone in the area just seems to now be local.
It's just back to back to back. They can't catch a break. The trio's dropping at Seaport. But in the meantime, we have Yanis, Noah, Rayleigh, and Chap, who are up against the Spanish trio, who are doing quite well. Shout out to them in 7th place. Coming from this drop spot, as you can see, it's just full pressure onto them from all the trios that drop in the surrounding area. Chap looking for angles. Yep. Haruko looking to see what he can do.
Noah Riley has really been a firepower stick-out figure for Yanis's trio, though. But lurking ever close nearby, Teeny could be an absolute menace. Both of these teams seem completely oblivious to the fact that he's just lurking nearby.
Yeah, the issue is, like you said, so much potential for not a third party, a fourth or fifth party in this situation right as this battle ends. As Chap now looking to play aggressive with that crack onto Kide. Forced to use the chug splashes, angles onto Noah as he gets cracked as well, but the pressure's on. Chap looking to get full on into the box. Pickaxe comes through, needs to get the replace as they take down Kide. Now leaving Cargo all alone on the high ground, and Teeny, Skavi, and Harris still playing patiently.
Oh no, Chappy tries to work his way back up to height, but that was the moment that Teeny, and Ski were waiting for. Chap now a victim after having just opened up this last fight with an elimination of his own. But everybody else looking to just bail from this position here, Takada. They recognize the fact things are on fire essentially on this cliff face. We do not want to be a part of it.
No, this is like a code red for any trio here. You do not want to be here right now as Giannis doing what he can to escape, but it's Cryfalls and his trio trying to catch up to him. Noah, Giannis, they're gonna have to have quite a comeback if they want to make something happen in this match.
The amount of material that they just expended, the amount of time it's going to take to get that reboot in the first place. So many questions left to be answered for whether or not they can actually overcome. Still, Teeny's team probably happy. Mustache, on the other hand, finally scooped up with the rest, just kind of swept clean there out of Seaport City. What once looked like a very optimal start there for Queasy's team is now starting to work against them, because that's part of the adaptations that other teams are going to make inside of a Major One final set lobby here, Takada. Teams are just going to recognize exactly what kind of fights others are taking and look to just pick them apart for it.
Yeah, and this is now the second game back-to-back where Queasy, Swizzy, and Mustache have gone down so early into the match. They were looking so strong. I mean, Mustache having won every single Major One finals on EU in the last 2 years, wanting to do it once again, but now they have this hurdle where they just can't get off spawn. They just can't get out of Seaport alive, and now hopefully, you know, if they're able to do it more, once they get to those end games, they've been performing. It's just getting to them now off the early game is just too difficult.
Wow, this is a deep chase from Teeny's team. Full commitment onto Noah Riley even. My man is out in the ocean, still getting chased, still fighting back as well. He's at least gonna make sure that Aetherus works for it. Noah Riley might not have shield, but he's still got a pump. He's still got damage to offer. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the numbers. Teeny will get that knock. Giannis still somewhere nearby though, having just managed to escape.
I don't know if it's even nearby at this point, Taco. He's gone. He's left as they're on the edge of zone, now forced to make their way back. We take a look at Veno, Vico, Flixie. Now, this is huge for this trio, having one of their top competitors gone down so early. This opens up that option, that opportunity for them to now overthrow them on the leaderboard, starting with 3 eliminations themselves. This could kind of be the start, but you know, you never know. We still got Demus up there. We still got Pix Darm. If they have another big game, it's going to be hard.
For sure, but we also know that Vico, Veno, and Flixie, they've got cap mats on just about everyone. They've got very strong amount of shields and whites to work with, and those launch pads are going to help them cover the ground and help them just dictate which part of the dead side rotation do they actually want to pursue. There's also still high odds that they'll be able to get eliminations from teams going for reboots as well. As Rizoi hoping to shut down that dream for Moneymaker, doesn't want to allow Gudenbri or Clownski a chance to fight back.
Uh-oh, shots are gonna come through by Noms. Not going full aggressive though. They've already gotten cracks, but they're not just committing instantly to that fight. They're not going for a triple spray. They're not going for a pre-edit. They're continuing to take angles even though they have that advantage. It kind of makes me think that they're just playing it a little extra safe. They're a little scared. They don't want to go down here. As now Guden is looking to see if he can maybe find an angle onto Gripey, onto Rizoi. Is there any option he can take here? But once he breaks that tree, they're gonna know, as Gripey quickly turns his eyes towards him. and now it's turned into more of a stale 3v3.
But something that I've noticed here at Takata is that neither of these teams seem to be looking back at where they just came from out of Magic Mosses. And keep in mind, Veno's team, they're pushing south. They might actually stumble upon this little engagement taking place here. And if Gutenberg's trio is not able to focus out those elims sooner rather than later, they're going to be forced to deal with a third-party scenario.
Speaking about Storm engagements, though, Shino might have an angle here, forced to break down the ramp, but not going to have an opening. As now, looks like a regroup back to Nebs and Pink. As I don't know if they're going to want to fully commit to this fight, but looking at our #1 trio in terms of the leaderboard, Darm, Pix, and Demus are now in not the best of situations, as Demus has been knocked down and fully eliminated. So I'm not sure if they are going to be looking for a reboot or if this is something that kind of happened recently, but it looks like Mixon, Blaha, and Comeback are going to be the ones on the other end.
Surprising that Mixon, Blaha, and Comeback haven't opted to just immediately full key Darm or Pix underneath them. So almost want to assume that they're not even aware of the fact that Pix is lurking in this manner. He does have that Void Onimask to try and teleport to safety, but if Comeback, Blaha, and Mixon actually want to commit to the chase, Pix might not have any other options here, because Darm just trying to hold down a separate angle. Pix, though, brave in his own right, still willing to commit. He's directly at the bottom of their surge base, but it's a triple TP to his teammate, and he knows that Darm's in a world of trouble.
Yeah, now it's going to be all about that regroup, taking shots back onto Mixon, Blaha, and Comeback to try and stop them from their aggression onto Darm, but Darm is doing what he can to stay up. They've spotted Pix now. Onimask is going to get pre-placed back above. Are they going to go back to high ground? Are they going to continue chasing Darm, as Pix is doing what he can to maintain his elevation? Now with his, I'm going to say duo, his other teammate that's still up, basically left him at this point. He most likely is going to be forced to regroup, but he could maybe take a bit of damage as he has to be careful. The shots come through. Pix is cracked and now is forced to play inside the Storm.
This is so cooked for Pix. If anything, he might have just gone up and kicked the Hornet's nest with that last play commitment, but definitely respect the effort when you're in these types of duo circumstances, going for that sneak approach, maybe trying to turn the tides in your favor. They didn't really have a whole lot of other options here, Takata, but being forced this far back into Storm, they know that there's going to be other teams inside of the zone, position based up in much stronger positions, and making a play for basically even a decent entry point is going to be incredibly tough. Not to mention other teams still lurking nearby.
Oh no, they know too. Nefrizzi saw Pix rotating, but he gets the water sprite just in time to recuperate the HP and keep himself in the game. Darm now applying that pressure onto the aggressors, getting them out of the sight and hopefully giving Pix a bit of time to reboot Demus back into the game. That was a little too close for comfort.
One thing that Darm and Pix certainly have going for them is their fighting capabilities. Darm and Demus especially, the fact that they're going to be able to once again run things down as a full trio could be a scary sight for some of our other teams that are looking to try and ensure that they're not maintaining their current first place position on the leaderboard. Granted, it's not about how you start the day, it's about how you finish, especially when there's 2 days of games worked through here. So I really think that Demus is fully aware of the fact that he's gonna have to take some time to get some better weapons online and hope that they can still maintain the same sort of firepower behind it.
Yeah, I mean, they have that motivation, that fire behind them from being in first place currently, and it's huge that they were able to get that reboot. I mean, just from 1 HP literally to recuperating it into now having your full trio up and running, a bit of time to recuperate mats. All it really takes now is 1 refresh, 1 elimination to put themselves back into the game. And from the confidence we've been seeing with a great pistol, it might be the time where they look for something.
74 below though. They don't have a choice. They have to take this fight. Nefrizzi Oh, hooking incredibly low, and sure enough, Pix is gonna get knocked again, but Darm making sure that it is for good measure. Rakuzan also trying to escape here, but Lusha is gonna be the one that shuts down this dream here for Poland. Rakuzan and Lucia do survive, but it comes at a pretty heavy cost, losing to Freezy there.
Too many pump shots were missed, but Teeny is gonna end up picking off Noah Riley as well. Now putting this trio at 6 eliminations. This is a non-stop back-to-back.
This is some devious work by Teeny's trio, though. The fact that they would chase Yanis out to follow up on his reboot for his teammates. Noah Riley getting Elim by the same team back-to-back is just so tough. And sure enough, Atris just reviewing what went south here for Yanis's trio. Only this time around, there were actually no survivors.
Yeah, and I mean, not only that, when they eliminated Noah, it was on the edge of the map in the water. Like, they were basically took out a fisherman, but doing it twice, like you said, absolutely devious. But hey, those are some extra points on the board now for Haristini and Skavi. 3rd place, as you can see. But what I'm kind of thinking of in the back of my head now is we got Venno with an invisibility now from this medallion. They've got 721 damage above the Storm Surge threshold. They've already got eliminations. They're on the Rift Island. They have prime position, and their main competitor for high ground is out of the match. So this is free pickings for this trio if they continue forwards into this end game.
And with the way that the zone is pulling, it's definitely doing them some NRX solids here, but granted, there's other teams that are also looking to try and keep match 4 going. Nebs, Chino, Pink having to expend the last of Nebs' shield just to prevent the surge damage from continuing to tick away at his HP bar, but Trulex just underneath. Trulex, Tayson, and Chicho as well. They're a team that the desk and us, Takata, we're kind of just waiting to see, are they going to get, you know, as fraggy as some of these other teams, they kind of need it at this point, because if you want a winning game, you're going to have to find eliminations, those consistent refreshes. As far as Chink, Pink, and Nebs are concerned, Chino just knows that it is going to be so tough here.
Yeah, the issue is it sucks, these situations where you're so close, you're just like 1 to 2 shots by the threshold, and you're just not able to do it. Pink goes down to Surge. They don't want to play aggressive because they're so close, but the issue is after Pink got eliminated, all his tags are now gone as well. Puts them 137 below. Now with Chino going down 194 below, and Nebs is left alone. I don't even know how much below the Storm Surge threshold. Our previous game winners as well. Mongrel has gone down, leaving Panzer and Mr. Savage to play it out as a duo. It's just, I mean, this is tragic, Taco.
This looks exactly like how you'd imagine for a lobby that's suffering from having dealt with Venno's team in control of that Shogun's arena, though everyone just kind of smothered to the low ground. Venno's team in prime position on the front side of zone already. Nebs just hoping to remain as concealed as possible. He at least has a decent amount of builds to work with, but when you're a solo in these types of circumstances and you're 368 and it just keeps growing and growing away from you as far as the damage threshold is concerned, Nebs, he's gonna have to just hope that this small fry make it can maybe buy him a little bit more placement, but things are looking pretty grim.
Yeah, dark for Nebs right now. He needs some shining light, something, anything, but unable to get it. It's gonna go down. In the meantime, we have Skavi and Haris here fishing up to recuperate that desperate need of shield, of heals. But the issue is the storm's already closing. In 45 seconds, it's going to be fully closed, so they don't have time to keep on fishing. They have to force a rotate here without even being able to recuperate all their shield and HP. But Panzer, on the other hand, looks like is going to pick up a knock. Good amount of chug splashes, good amount of materials. They can make something happen even though they're a duo here.
The problem, though, with where they're trying to like blindly TP through. There's just so much congestion having already pulled on these edges of zone. Panzer though does have a whole lot of splashes. His inventory's at least got 7 to work with here, so they can afford to just tank a little bit of storm damage if need be to continue boxing up in better position to comparison to the rest of the lobby, but they can't play immediate front side. They're just trying to remain a little bit more concealed here.
As now the next zone has appeared, this is where you want to be as quick as possible to plan your potential rotates, as Pixie now is going to make a play for height. His potential rotate is maintaining high ground, it might seem, as they're ahead of the storm here, looking to see if they can hold on to it. Vanya, Marius, Pixie looking to get a big game here.
Middle ground though, Malabuka's team just steady waiting for an opening. Sky, eye drop, and scroll though from the low front. They're trying to just make sure they can claim as much space as possible. 2 boxes wide currently, but Sky knows it's going to take more than just a setup in the low ground. They're going to need those elimination refrags to come through as Veno, Flixie, Vico, we know how much they love to chop height. They've got to have it in their sights.
I see it. I see Veno already looking up. He wants to constantly be aware of how that high ground's looking. They're ahead of zone. They have enough materials to play it, but the issue is high ground looks so healthy. They need to find an efficient shot here, and while they take that time, you got Vico, you got Flixie fragging out in the backside of the tarp here, picking up refreshes to continue their dominance in terms of materials, everything needed to retake the height later on here.
Meanwhile, Savage just trying to stay as close-knit to Panzer as possible. They know that they can't afford to split for even a second. Otherwise, they're going to end up like V, just getting picked apart in the sky, still managing to hold on just barely, but it's just not going to be enough here, Takada. If he wants to really break through, he needs a refrag, and currently he's forced to play backside with Atris.
And look how high up in the sky Vanya, Marius, and Co are playing. Mr. Savage, though, now left alone as a solo. 1 elim on the board, looking to make it more. 27 H or shield to work with. Right now, he has to play backside his zone. He has to be careful. He can't go too far ahead. He doesn't have the loot to do so. It's just scavenging as many placements as possible and trying to find other solos that are also scuffed on loot and materials to pick off and get that refresh from. The issue is there's just so many duos. There's so many trios close by that it might be hard to find an opening on a solo, but he's doing a great job of riding the back of the wave.
You just gotta hope that nobody spots him out, because Mr. Savage only having 4 builds left. Takada, it's almost like he's pickaxing to his own demise here soon enough. Spots the fact that Malabuka is more than healthy enough, trying to just get ahead of the player that pushed up directly behind him. And Savage, one more time, bunkering away in the underground, but it's still just so much left before everything is going to completely close out in this lobby.
Sky Scroll as a duo now, maintaining this kind of mid layer, as they're gonna have to be careful because the pressure from above will eventually come as the chaos continues to unfold down below. Nefrizi, Lucia, Starkus trying to see if they can get ahead. They choose to play inside the bush. It's gonna be a perfect opportunity to take shots onto Veno, to take shots onto Vico, Flixie, as they've already been cracked. Flixie left with a sliver of HP as Veno does a great job tarping ahead.
Still though, the fact that Flixie's up and running means that this trio is still as threatening as ever. Lucia also pays the price for giving away their position in terms of where they were shooting from. The Freezy will be the first to fall as well, and so many teams just encountering Veno in the low ground. Rakuzan, that's the problem with the Invis medallion, you never see it coming.
Malabuka, Ping, continuing as a duo. They look to chop down high, but they know it's a full trio. They might just have to make the decision to drop down low, but the issue is down low, it's the beasts that are hungry for more. Pixie, Vanya start dropping down, start opening angles here, looking to see if they can get some damage, get some extra eliminations before they look to close it out. But Veno has the invisibility medallion. He goes on up. He takes out Pixie. He hits Vanya. He takes him out as well. Is he gonna close it off in a 1 versus 3? Veno, are you serious?
Veno is simply built different. That is exactly why he always takes command of this Invis medallion. He's not the only one. Vico also making sure to light things up in the elimination feed. Marius gonna be the last to be claimed, and Veno in one more more time. Another victory royale here on the day, Takada, as if the first one wasn't good enough.
Are you serious? All odds were not in their favor against them. They didn't have height. They didn't have the heal off. Nothing, but they were still able to recover, recuperate, eliminate player after player, stop the heal off, and secure the victory royale. This is why this trio has so much hype going into the EU finals.
Absolutely disgusting. From the moment that they got that double revive off onto Flixie, you could never count them out. Even if it was just Veno and Vico, you still can never count them out. An absolute showing from Veno and Vico to confirm this victory royale here. What a game. Desk, what do you got to say?
I've got to say that I don't trust being around Veno ever again because he might have an invisibility medallion and just pop out of nowhere. That was madness, Levin. They got the island, they didn't get the hype, but they did get the victory royale.
That was disgusting. Like, this is what this guy can do. I mean, you look over the past year or so, I know things were hard when he was playing duos with Tayson and then he went to Clicks and they had their struggles, but I really feel like, Minnie, a lot of people forgot like who this guy really is. Of course, he's playing with Vico, he's playing with Flixie. They've shown us in recent seasons how capable they are, but never sleep on Veno. Never forget what that guy is capable of. I mean, that is just ridiculous way to end that game and to win it 2v3.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with how Veno has brought some stability to this team, some IGLing ability and some stability, just steady the ship in terms of what Vico and Flix are able to do. But what a lot of people forget, and I think what we're being reminded of right now, is how good he is as a mechanical player. He's the player that can quite literally do it all, and they've been doing it all today. Of course, they won on height earlier on, now winning now on the sort of low ground section of the game as well. It just seems like whenever these guys get into this end game, put themselves in a good position with good surge, they seem to find a really, really good game out of it. And that's 2 out of 2 games, Levin. The Island team managing to pick up the victory royale. So clearly another big element of the game.
It's not even just that, right? You know, my good brother Resub on X, you know, he made a post where the Island teams actually come second in the 2 games that it didn't win now.
Yeah.
So the record for the Island team is literally like second, first. Play for the Island and you will have a good game is what it's looking like right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I mean, this was incredible as well. Just the sort of the height take and everything about this this clutch. Vico there at the end as well played such a great part. And an important element there, something that we broke down at the beginning, was that invisibility medallion. I don't think Veno would have eliminated Vanya if it wasn't for that medallion, because Vanya just didn't know where he was, trying to look in the box. Where is he? Next thing you know, you're on the ground knocked. So it's just so powerful, and that's what Veno does best.
And just last week, you guys were talking about the fact that the invisibility medallion and Veno is this match made in heaven. And we're going to talk more about what went down in that heavenly game number 4 after this break. Welcome back to FNCS Europe. This is our Major 1 finals, and so far it's absolutely delivering. We've got a whole other day of this, boys, but I just don't want it to end because I just can't wait to see who's going to be taking it. We're definitely seeing the big trio step up. We're also seeing some more surprising names also challenging the leaderboard. More on that in a moment, because first of all, we should talk about Marius, Vanya and Pixie Mini Minor, because yes, they came very close to taking the victory royale. Then they had high ground on lock until the final moments, but actually they had a fantastic start to the game too.
Yeah, they did. They the way that they actually took advantage of the sort of Seaport City fight, we saw that Queasy and company took a little bit longer in that fight against Momsy and his team. Then of course iDrop's team went on in there, and then this team, Vanya, Pixie and Marius, then almost fourth partied in a sense, and it just set them up so well for this game. Then for the end game 11, it's kind of exactly what we expect from this trio. Really nicely played high ground from them, and a really well played to like sort of suppress the lobby and make sure everyone's compressed down, so that it did come down to this final 1v1.
And remember, we almost didn't see this team in the FNCS final. They were one of the last chance qualified teams. This is a team that, again, just had so many problems, you know, outside of Kappa Kappa Factory when they were uncontested in that group stage. It looked like they didn't have a clue what they were doing. And the contrast to now, where they are one of the better teams in this lobby. Again, the beauty of the format, the last chance qualifier was great. Another last chance qualified team in Haris's team, Teeny's team, they're also in the top 10 looking good as well. So it's nice to see these teams that had struggles through the season figuring things out here in the finals.
Just quickly though, Levin, are you surprised they managed to get it together? Because when you look at the individual elements, those players on this trio, all three of them are guys we are used to seeing on the first page of a leaderboard.
Yeah, no, it was always about the meta read, right? It was always about understanding the game. The talent was never the question with Marius, Pixie and Vanya on the team. It was about figuring out how to play. I think the way, you know, the surge has been breaking down in this lobby, where it's a lot of like these like team fights that are taking place where they're able to come in and third party, has benefited how they want to play.
Well, let's take a look at our surprise in number 2. And I say surprise because actually, Mini Minor, this was your surprise trio going into the Major 1 finals. Katrick, Finchek and Uppal, they're playing a blinder.
Yeah, really nicely played from these guys so far. I knew they were going to do good. I knew that there was a team that we expected to do pretty good overall, I think. I'm sure a lot of people would agree, but not necessarily this good. Second place after 4 games. Their placements have been really good as well. 4th, 6th, and 3rd. And this game in particular, they're best of the lot so far. They just keep getting better, Levin, and it seems like the way that they're able to hold off other teams in fights so far has been really good. They're really strong in the surge as well. So I'm not too concerned about the way that this could go worse for this team, I guess.
Yeah, they're a team that I've been telling people not to sleep on. I feel like so many people were sleeping on them. They're a team who, again, since like that sort of last week of the divisionals, they've just been in great form. And I feel like when you watch their games, you watch how they play, so much firepower, they can keep up with the best of them. Again, you can't sleep on some of the new talent popping up in the EU. A lot of these guys just will surprise you. They will prove you wrong if you do.
Well, no one's going to be sleeping on Dimas, Derm and Pix now, because they were your surprise trio 11. And these guys are aggressive. They will TP on you and just steal your elimination life for Surge.
Well, yeah, they were the ones getting TP'd on last game, right? By Mix and then Comeback and Blaha. But a tough game for them. Again, I'm not worried about these guys. Like, I think the key thing to remember is that when a team this sort of inexperienced in this lobby, you know, has as you know, the early success they've had, they're gonna run into hiccups. They're gonna run into problems. We can't expect them to just, you know, win 12 out of 12 games, right? That's not the standard here for them. They're gonna have to figure things out, but they'll be all right.
Yeah, they're more than all right, judging by their position on the leaderboard. We have to head swiftly, though, into game number 5. So let's head back to Takata and Taco.
Thank you, Frankie. I mean, you were saying it yourself. It is incredibly close, and it can show just how much the leaderboard can change from one match. I mean, it's completely different. So, I don't know, Taco. Going into these last 2 matches of the day, reminder, we still have 6 more tomorrow, but of the day, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, Takata, because at least from a spectator point of view, I'm having an awesome time. These end games have been so phenomenal to witness, but one big takeaway so far today, that Shogun's Arena looking pretty primo as far as these end game placements are concerned. So match 5, let's see who takes it.
It's good you point that out. It's been pure success from the trios that have been able to kind of maintain that Shogun's arena. But going back to the early game, Taco, we do have something that, you know, we've seen quite a few times now. Both
Get on the board.
POIs I got an eye on is obviously Seaport with our top trios fighting, but also Lost Lake. It's 4-0 right now. Will a change happen in these last matches? Will Camiseti Chari be able to kind of overcome it? And also, will Queasy, which I think is almost even more important to focus here, will they be able to kind of get back into the game? They started off so strong, but back-to-back games off spawn getting eliminated. Locked in on the Lost Lake. Can Camiseti Cherry make something happen?
They have to get on the board right now, Takada. They need to show some signs of life here in day one. They've got next to nothing. In fact, I don't think they have anything as far as points are concerned. Realistically, Swizzy, though, trying to make sure this exchange doesn't get drawn out this time around. One elimination already onto Shaco's, and sure enough, it's all going to come down to Merstash trying to make sure that they can completely clean up Seaport City.
From first place, dropped down to 8th now from those back-to-back blunders of matches that they had. Now, can they come back with those 2 early eliminations, Momsy being the last one? All they need to do is close this one out and play as usual to finish off a strong game. I mean, they just cannot afford much more bad matches.
Nah, Queasy's had enough, though. He's got full tabs on where this Oni TP has been placed. He's going to send Merstash up to sick him, but Swizzy also making sure to cut off that exit way. Queasy, Merstash just continuing to hunt Momsy down. They don't want to allow any opportunities for that French revival later on in the game off the reboot play.
Yeah, they want them out of the match. Don't want to even think of them for the rest of the game here. But so far, done a good job of kind of cleaning up and getting locked in once again to staying efficient in terms of loot and what you're gathering. But as we look back over at Lost Lake, an even speedier third party seems to have come through. Akira gets knocked down. Xweez and Podosai left as a duo. I don't even know what Camiseti Cherry are going to do in this situation, but there's a whole party going on.
Seems like Camiseti and Chari are just gonna opt to maybe try and leverage some positioning. Look for a knock or elimination onto Podosai and Xweez, the only remaining French players from this team here at Lost Lake. But yeah, with that third party entry being so early on, it's just the results of teams that have been struggling to find success here today, Takada, and looking to come up with something out of nothing.
That's the difficult part. It's kind of having those comebacks as we look now. Once again, a bit more aggression being put onto Cami and Chari here. Issue is they just don't have anything in their favor. Chari gets knocked down. Cami said he left as a duo, as Cami now gets cracked as well, but he gets a big shot back onto his opponent. Forced to let the other players push on in, but as Cami gets eliminated, Seti's left as a solo. It's looking grimmer and grimmer as the matches go on.
Seti in a last attempt here, trying to see if he can Typhoon Blade through for any pickup of damage. It's just not going to be enough. We're starting to approach the conversation now where Lost Lake might just be a net negative for everyone involved at the start of it, at least, aside from those teams that look for the third party. But Magic Mosses also has its own slew of troubles brewing here for Obob, trying to get an opening. Axe Force as well, going to make sure that anybody left behind is not going to have a chance, as Gripe fighting for his life, but too many opponents to deal with, and it's just too close for comfort. But Robob's team happy to get those elims early.
Yeah, good start. But the issue is now with that time that was expended, they're gonna have to take some more time recuperating what they've lost. But you gotta be careful, as Rizoi is gonna get caught. Saw him crouching in the corner of his eye. Quick little emote, as now they can spend that time to continue with their path. But it you know, it's a good start for the trio as we look back over to Pixie and Co.
And what's interesting is that that's also been a consistent fight over at Magic Mosses, but just doesn't seem like it's boded significant results for either of those teams. Pixie, Vanya, and Marius, on the other hand, though, they've definitely had a lot of hype success. They've also had a little bit of hindrance to some of their search strategy plans. Right now, it comes down to whether or not they can actually clean up this fight between themselves and iDrop's trio. Got to make sure that they're maintaining a good measure on other teams in the area as well. They know how susceptible teams are to getting third-partied, and sure enough, Giannis from afar.
So many shots being connected. The laser beam onto Pixie, as Sky, iDrop, and Scroll now have a little bit more time to decide what they want to do. Just farming up the metal as now they kind of crouch over to them. They heard the crack come through. They know that it could have been a potential opening to maybe look for something, but as time continues, it goes on. We see Demas. What did they take down? 1, 2, a whole trio, it seems. As this is a great start for this trio.
This is a huge rotation happening early on from Pump Power, just recognizing the fact these teams at Brutal Boxcars, if they're not going to close out these fights early enough, well, Demas' team more than happy to make quick work of them. Pix, Darm, they know the train overhead, but they could choose to kind of just stick around for a few moments longer. They don't necessarily have to keep fighting, unlike Ping.
We look over, yeah. They decided to go towards Twinkle Terrace here, and just like that, Batman's gonna be on the other end of this wall. Meanwhile, Ping Malabuka walks are looking to play a bit aggressive for those tags, get that damage done, as Batman is continuing to take those corner shots, jump shots, but Ping has to be careful as he gets dropped lower and lower, just to force shield. Forced to pop a big pot here and take a bit of time in the defensive end.
Volko already preemptively placing TPs to try and bail out. Doesn't want to get stuck, knowing full well these third-party scenarios are just not going in most teams' favors here today. Clownski, Gudenbri rotating out of Whiffy Wharf, bound to have heard all the commotion taking place at Twinkle Terrace. And for Ping, Malabuka, and Walks, while they haven't been able to necessarily confirm an elimination, they still got a decent amount of damage, and they know that there's just too much foot traffic in the area right now. They need to find a better positional point to try and get some tags in.
Speaking about positioning, it looks like Nako, Harko, and Kire have been able to get out of the trenches, kind of on the edge of the map where they were dropping. They've had a lot of difficulty just getting up this hill with all the trios that were looking back on them, but it seems now they're elevated. They are in an engagement once again, but it's fine. It's going to give them that damage. And hopefully they were already able to get a bit, as now they have chosen to disengage, as Teeny, Harris, and Skivvy once again kind of crouched around looking for an opening.
A little bit awkward though for Teeny. I mean, when you don't actually have a central drop that you want to function out of, and you're forced every single lobby to essentially just stake your bets, trust in your own gameplay capabilities, to find a last-minute plan to come up with a huge positive for your team. Kire, Harko, unhappy with what's going down here at Mass Meadows. What had initially been a relatively uncom position there for Chap Yanis and Noah Riley in the early game, starting to get a little bit more traction as some of these other teams pushing in sooner to these POIs, trying to get a piece of the action before they have to worry about those surge thresholds.
Yeah, it seems they sensed a little bit too much danger when they were on the snowy mountain close by and decided, you know what, let's go maybe for more fair to 3-on-3 closer to Mask Meadows instead of all the potential third parties that can come through up here on the hill. So far it's, I wouldn't say worked out, but it hasn't gone poorly either. Just been able to take some shots back and forth, recuperate a bit of mats, and continue forwards as one up in his trio are in a position where if you look at the bottom right in the mini map, there's a lot of, it's a popular location, you could say, as Adam's got to be careful. A crack's going to come through, drop to 64 HP, and now forced to play defensively.
Yeah, the problem is this is Malabuka's team backyard. They're in home ground currently, as Adam has to fall back, has to regroup with Fincheck. Fortunately enough, this hill face is going to provide a decent point a decent overview at least to see what all is actually taking place, but it might just be a complete pivot. All they really want is to rotate out. Vico, on the other hand, just continuing to make sure that these eliminations, no problem.
2 on the board extra, as now they continue their wrath. I'm not sure where the last remaining player is, but that puts them up to 4 total eliminations so far. Now gonna have more than enough damage. This is more what I would expect from a trio like this. I mean, they always kind of take these engagements, take these fights that sometimes you could say would put them into risky situations, but their true, I guess, thing that sets them apart is being able to kind of recover from those situations if they do end up going poorly. The good news is, I mean, the type of trio they are, it's not going to go poorly too often for Podesai, Squeeze, and Akira, though. Been leading in terms of early game engagements, but unable to kind of close it out in the late games.
Got to deal with the likes of Gudenbri and Moneymaker now, but also have to remember Malabuka definitely somewhere nearby, so you don't want to get all in commit heavy unless you know for sure that you can actually close out the fight. The longer things go on, the easier it'll be for a team to set up positioning and hold you inside of the storm. As X-Squeeze trying to get a different angle now, looking to break down this wall. Akira's got to be careful. X-Squeeze knocking on the door, but Akira instead gonna eat the other end of that pump shot. Gudenbri will manage to fall though.
Moneymaker now left alone, doing what he can to hold his ground, as Podesai and X-Squeeze have to make a decision. Do they continue in the 2 versus 1? Do they pick up their fallen teammate Akira? As Moneymaker has been cracked, double res is going to come through, turn it back into a 3 versus 1, and with that, hopefully, they can close it out.
Tough. Unfortunately, though, Moneymaker's team, they were hoping to try and come up with a third party in the first place. And sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles, just not in your favor. Swizzy, Queasy, Mustache, though, this has been a complete 180 from the last couple of lobbies that we've kind of watched them through. Swizzy, a massive surge base currently just outside of Seaport City, and it almost looks as if they're trying to establish for a take on Shogun's Arena.
I mean, it wouldn't be something new, something we're not expecting from this trio. What's impressive, though, is just from those first 2 matches they actually played out after getting out of Seaport. I mean, that's basically all the points they have. They had 2 matches where they got basically nothing, and they're still in the top 10, even despite that. So, I mean, hopefully, with one big game here, it's going to push them back into that top 5, top 3 potentially, but it's easier said than done, as Haruko has not lost Nako up here by Master Meadows, so I'm not sure how they're going to be able to recuperate from this.
Let's see, Kirei knows Loki and Luce, they want to try and get an overhead position on them, but they also have to be wary of the teams that are already on that Shogun's Arena. Luce, Monet, and Loki, if they're just trying to completely rotate out. They've got the ability to try and hold. Noah Riley, though, he's been knocked. Chap and Yanis on top of the island, dealing with Vanya and Pixie.
Oh no, this is a difficult situation too, because not only are they dealing with the trio up close by the boss, but there's a whole other trio taking shots from afar. And meantime, you got Shogun just chopping into your box, breaking down your builds, causing disruption. As now this puts a lot more pressure on all the trios that are up here, but Vanya connecting some crucial shots to give them a bit more time to build out.
But with everything happening here on top of Shogun's Arena, you have to still keep in mind that team in the surge base over by Seaport City, Queasy and Swizzy, they were high enough to see that there's definitely tons of teams looking to go at it on top of Shogun's Arena. And you have to remember, it's not necessarily always about that Shogun's medallion that these teams are after. Just being able to claim the positioning, being able to actually control the flow of the lobby, that can be the real difference maker up top.
It's gotta be the most trios I've seen up top. I mean, not only today, but even taking groups into play and everything. Normally you see 1 or 2 contesting each other, but maybe based on, you know, what we've seen comes from the placements after these trios have played Island. They're getting a bit more popular mid-major finals as Nick and 1UP here alongside Adam are just kind of taking shots down below with trios rotating through.
Still could be a big moment though for Upbull's team. They've just quietly been holding down that secondary place on the leaderboards heading into this 5th lobby of the day. All of the highlight reel moments, it feels like, have been surrounding some of our bigger name teams or the new up-and-comers, Takada, but gotta keep tabs on what's unfolding right in front of us after all. And Upbull Adam, they seem to have figured something out, and XP's got to be careful. Same story here for Skyscroll and iDrop. They're just trying to make sure that they can stake out where exactly these other teams are rotating in from, but that mountain behind them could prove to be their biggest hurdle yet, because working your way up a mountain that teams have already got surge bases built up on is so difficult.
I'm trying to think if that surge base is actually in the zone, though. I don't think it is, because just the edge of it. As Haruko, Kida, and Nako might be going for a play here on top of the surge base. They want to go for Teeny and Haris, but not getting enough elevation. They're not going to open up a chance to connect the shot. And now, like we were alluding to, they're still not in the zone. They're going to have more trios keeping an eye on them because they are so elevated that it's going to make this rotate just that much more difficult, as they're actually going to choose to disengage from this and come back at a safer time.
Still, now they got to deal with the teams that were kind of hovering near the underbelly of that Shogun's arena. Article looking to try and back up his teammates, but Chap, Yanis, Chap's gonna actually take a piece he was not expecting. Just completely knocked. Never saw it coming. Same story here for Noah Riley and Yanis. Unfortunate circumstances unfolding.
2 quick pickings for Haruko as he gets those eliminations needed to keep themselves up just a bit longer. And if I'm not mistaken, they might have even just caught the medallion as well, as now Haruko with the invisibility medallion from Shogun continuing on forwards. He's hungry for more, as Gide and Nako are gonna just recuperate the rest of that loot that was used from going from this engagement. But this is some strong potential for this trio now.
Yeah, but Yanis had just completely got this game turned on his head. What looked so promising initially, dealing with Shogun's Arena, dealing with potentially having control of that medallion, now he's left to try and deal with scrambling as far up in placement as possible, as a solo can try to do, but Shogun's medallion would have made that job so much easier.
Even after all of that too, just 40 above. I think they were close to 300 below going into that engagement, which is why they had to take that fight, as now they've put themselves on, I would say, one of the most primed positions for this specific zone. The issue is, we saw what happened to Pink and Nevs earlier on when they were just 17 to 50 below. They couldn't find those shots, but hopefully Kide, Nako, and Haruko will be able to.
Haruko just kind of scouting out the fact that there's teams stuck closer towards that edge of zone, and they might be able, they are in a relatively central position, but yeah, they're just not going to be able to hold that spot if they're going to have to go take a fight up close instead. Vika, Veno, Flixie, they're also trying to make sure they don't get caught in the masses of everybody else rotating, but Veno's doing an excellent job of just making sure to look up. Doesn't want to blindly lead his team through on these teleports, and he's found a position that he wants on this side of the mountain.
If I'm not mistaken, Rift Island is also kind of on the edge here. It actually pulls towards Rift Island. Shogun's Arena is going to be in play here, meaning that I was going to say the trio up above, but it's actually Yanis is a solo. That's the only player on the island for now before more people look for it. If you're able to get up there, it's going to be a good option to conserve materials, and it looks like Vico, Veno, Flixie are kind of looking at it. They're saying, hey, let's try and get closer and closer here. Maybe open up an option to go up above.
Queasy's team, though, might have had the same idea. We've seen Queasy, Swizzy, and Murstache make late island plays in the past, but With where they're currently at, completely outside of the congestion from where the rest of the lobby is starting to build up. Medius, Venya, and Pixie, though, they're going to be the ones currently in control of Shogun's arena, just trying to stave everybody else off.
What's so good about this position is you get to not only conserve materials on all these zones, you get to cover yourself from a lot of potential tags during rotates, but you also get to make those tags yourself with the amount of vision that you actually have. So hopefully the trios up above will be making use of exactly that as we look at Pix, Demus, and Darm already starting off strong with 6 eliminations, and they're saying, you know, we don't need the Rift Island, but we're just gonna get ahead here. They're rotating towards the area that was previously in the storm, so it's a lot less likely for there to be trios here.
So many places to hide as well inside of Mass Meadows. Teams looking to get out of the mix, but Vico nearly gets the better end of Tayson and Trulex there, but Tayson and Trulex, they're not just dealing with Vico's team, they're also having to deal with the likes of Queasy on the other side, but just behind Vico, gonna recognize there's a team desperately trying to break into our box. It's another team that needs Surge instead. They're so weak, they just collapse immediately.
Could be free pickings, as it looks like Marius, Vanya, and Pixie still continuing to hold up above here. Even the opportunity to refarm materials on rotates. Normally in endgame, you're trying to conserve materials. Here, Marius gets to refarm them as he rotates. As now, they're going to continue to just kind of take advantage of this position while everybody else down below keeps fighting.
Merstash probably doesn't mind, though. One of the original demons of low ground, and he's definitely in his natural environment at this stage, Takada. Just kind of hoping that he's going to be able to have an opportunity to showcase what he's got. Sky, Scroll, eye drop though. Secondary height for the time being, but they're just picking off the stragglers that are far too weak to actually make their way into zone.
Great job though, making use of their slightly elevated position to pick off those stragglers. Meanwhile, a lot of trios look to get on ahead now as Pixie, Vanya, Marius have made the play for high ground. They took their time and acted on it as Darm, Demus, and Pix now continuing to kind of wait for this pull, as now it even pulled back towards them almost, so they can kind of hug the edge of storm here and keep on going.
Still could use a material refresh. If they're gonna torp through and try to create space in that low ground, they're gonna need to get aggressive, but that's definitely a team that's capable of doing so. Got to be careful though. Also want to commit to the low ground because this team on height, Marius, Vanya, Pixie, spraying everyone below, making it feel like it's impossible to actually TP forward.
So much went their way. All they have to do is close it out now, continuing to apply pressure on any potential trio that might be looking for height, as Merstash has to be careful. Currently leading the pack in terms of eliminations today. Will he continue that forwards as he's been cracked down to just 50 HP? His teammates need to help him out here as the minis get popped. The aggression comes through. It's Mr. Savage Mongrel, a full trio looking to get into their boxes. Swizzy's gone down. It's all up to Merstash and Queasy now.
Merstash having to immediately box and look for a shield refresh. Is that split separation for a second too long? Swizzy having been eliminated there is going to be such a big issue. But Scroll, Sky, iDrop more than happy to take over the low ground. And in fact, Atris, gotta be real careful with where you're stepping because these floors might go at any moment.
Take a look at Demon's Darn Pigs. They are looking incredibly healthy. Oni masking in front of zone here. This could be a solid match to put themselves right back up the leaderboard and solidify them a place in that top 3, even first place once again. Staying ahead on low ground. Vico, Venoflixi though, looking now. Is it the time to take height? When can we look for the opportunity?
If anything, they want to look for the chop. They don't want to allow Vanya to just have the time of their life up in the skies. Scroll, iDrop, Sky. They might actually encounter Demus and Pix. And Demus, unfortunately, left again to try and carry the torch ahead here. He's going to have to sit back for a moment, but he doesn't have any whites. He's going to have to depend on Siphon Takata if he wants to keep charging forward, but as a solo, it's going to be so difficult.
Veno's been left alone. Another solo once again. A lot of these top trios getting taken out. Demus goes down. Finnick left alone. 263 points, getting closer and closer to leading the pack. Now all up to him. as he's going to choose to ride the wave here. Does not want to get ahead of Storm. You want to play the backside when you're a solo, as Veno now has to find another one. It's going to be Queasy. Wow. He hits that shot, taking him out with a singular pump as he continues to get on forwards.
Nah, Veno actually just said what's good to his former teammate, but Veno, he's not out of the thick of it just yet. He's still got to deal with so much pressure from above and below. One build left to his name, but at the Invis medallion, Hardcore shuts him down.
From the Shadow Realm, Hardcore with a big pump. Marius now chose to drop down low. They've held height long enough. They want to get a bit of eliminations alongside their positional advantage as Scroll picks up another 2. 5 he lives on the board just himself, as now they have full control of the low ground, but Marius is continuously looking for more pickings, but he's run out of mats.
And the problem is that Scroll's team has more than enough of them. As far as what we saw from iDrop, at least, he's just continuing to claim space. Hardicle could be the real thorn in the side here. He's got that Invis medallion, he's running around, but Marius actually gonna take it off his hands. Big pump elimination here. Vanya as well, still above, still looking for an advantage. But Marius, he just picked up the Shogun's medallion, and now he's lost it to iDrop.
Not only that, it's now a 3 versus 2 as well. Vanya, Pixie, everything was in their favor, but now odds are against them as iDrop, Sky, and Scroll have to make the decision on how to close this off. I don't think they have chug splashes or anything to play the heal off here. It must come down to the aggressive play, the 3 versus 2. Can Vanya do it? Can he do enough damage to let his teammate Pixie close this one off?
I don't think heal off is an option here, Takada. Vanya's gotta make something huge happen, but Vanya can't connect. He's gonna get knocked. iDrop from afar, just beaming at Pixie, who's trying to heal it out. Sky as well, though, still playing the med kit, but there is a heal off here. Pixie does have the advantage.
Medkit's going put to use. Sky has the small fries. I'm trying to do some calculations. I'm not sure who has more time here. Is Storm Sickness gonna be a play? I don't think so. Pixie with the last medkit. Looks like he has the lead, but Sky's not gonna let that one slide. He had the wall. He gets the edit, and with one pump, he closes it off for his trio.
All of that space that iDrop had been tarping out before, and that was the moment they'd been waiting for, and Pixie, a solid attempt to make that heal-off opportunity come to fruition. Unfortunately for him, it's going to be the Danes who reign victory royale here.
Sky realized I don't have any more heals. Most likely my opponent is still healing. I need to make a play. I need to make something happen. And that is exactly what they did to close out this game 5. iDrop, Sky, and Scroll take home the victory royale and bump themselves right up that leaderboard.
And it hasn't been too often here today that we've witnessed teams be able to create so much success from this low ground position, because we never once saw them really make a real stab attempt at height. They chose to just play to their strengths in this game. They recognized the fact that they had already claimed enough territory in the low ground. They were doing a decent job at making sure to control the front side as well here, Takada. It just worked out.
It just worked out. I mean, they had the wall already. Odds were in their favor in those last moments, and a deserved victory royale from iDrop, Sky, and Scroll. We still got one game left, so Desk, break it down for us.
Thank you so much, guys. Sky, Scroll, and iDrop, they consistently have made it to the top 10. I believe all 5 of our games, but finally, Mini Miner, they're able to go the extra mile and claim that victory royale.
Wow, that was absolutely incredible. What an end to that game. I mean, when we saw that Vanya and his team actually had those heals, I thought, right, yeah, Pixie is going to be able to just heal off here, easily win the game. What are the chances, Levin, that it's actually his wall in terms of Sky Scroll? Like, all those builds he could have gone into, and he goes into the builds of iDrop, Sky, and Scroll. And I guess that's something that we don't really speak too much about when it comes to heal-offs. You have to make sure that all the builds are yours.
I mean, we're underselling him here. Like, it was not in his control. He ran out of heals. The game was literally lost. He hears Pixie healing off, and he just happens to have the wall, like you say. I mean, I genuinely was like getting ready to say, okay, wow, yeah, that's the win for Pixie Marius, another win from a team sitting up on the island, saving all their mats. And then that happens. I mean, Sky, wow, he must be really feeling, of course, he's been, I think that the player on this team, he's been getting the most love of late in terms of just his prowess, being a leader, being, you know, a fragger, being able to just do everything the team needs. Pixie, a false sense of security for sure. Definitely was not expecting that to be Sky's wall of all people, but yeah, what a finish to that game. Unreal.
Well, we hope that Vanya and his trio will pick themselves up, because that's the second time they come within a hair's breadth of taking a victory royale. So I'm sure that's going to do great things for them in terms of the leaderboard, which we'll be checking out after this break. Welcome back to the FNCS Europe Major 1 Finals, and we just have one more game to go from day one of the action. But don't worry, that means, if you do the maths, 7 games still to come your way. And if you missed the last one, it's certainly delivered, 11-2K.
I mean, what a finish. Like, let's be honest, it's rare that you get hyped for a heal-off in Fortnite, you know what I mean? But that was a proper hype heal-off. What are the chances that it's Sky's wall there? They'll be over the moon with that, especially with where that leaves them on the leaderboard now.
Yeah, it's so rare that a heal-off kind of flips the switch like that, whereas, like, you know, you can kind of just predict who's going to win the heal-off. Like, they got the most heals, they're going to win. And it's like, just comes out of nowhere, right? I think he sees him through like a sort of weak wall and then goes through. What an incredible performance there in that end game. And look at where it boosts them up into the leaderboard as well. 2nd place for them, which is kind of where we expected them to be at the beginning of the day.
It's also really exciting. Oh, apologies. Go right ahead, Devin.
No, I was just going to say, like, the way the leaderboard is shaping up is so exciting. I feel like you're probably going to say the exact same thing, Frankie, right? Where, like, you got 2 teams at the top who are, like, big favorite teams, right? Of course, Vico, Venom, Flixie have started to pick things up in recent games, especially after that win there. Then you have iJoe, Sky, and Scroll, who we obviously said were a dark horse team, but again, just another team that's been super in contention. Then the next 2 teams are just 2 last chance qualifying teams in Vanya and Teeny's teams. And then after that is, like, the 2 teams we said would be surprise performances, right? So, like, we just got a bit of different flavors all in there right now, like so many different types of teams finding success in this lobby.
And we've got to draw some attention as well to Marius and Vanya. It's the second game that they've had the high ground, the second game where they've become second, literally so close to that victory royale mini minor. And I think this is consistency. It's something we're going to see from them going into day 2.
Yeah, and when I saw them, you know, on high yet again in a really good situation, another sort of 3v3 situation, I was going to cross-reference back to the last chance qualifier where they had a very similar situation in game 2 and then game 3, and they ended up winning that second game, the game 3 there. It just wasn't to be. I think down here at this current moment that we're about to see, I think it's Vanya that actually just whiffs. I think he just completely misses his shots as he drops down onto I drop Sky and Scroll, and that unfortunately for them was the reason why he went down, and it's just so unfortunate. But they had all the success level, they had all the win conditions in the heels, but they just couldn't execute it.
Yeah, as good as these guys are doing, and I mean they are doing very impressively, right?
Yeah.
I am starting to get a bit concerned like this, just because like they've now had way too many games where they're like second place, and I'm like, like, what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? Like, when I watched their last chance qualifier games, as much as they eventually did get the win in the third one, it's like the one where they came second, and even in their win, they looked a bit shaky when they were up on high, and it's like final 2v2 or 3v3, sorry. And then here in these games again, just 3 second places. It's like, come on, guys, like you gotta get the win eventually, right? Like you can't keep doing this. Even with that being said, though, for them to be third, I think is very impressive and would surprise a lot of people with just how their season's gone.
Levin, they're just leaving it to the last chance. I'm sorry.
Some would say
sorry.
that, yes.
Let's just quickly give props as well, again, to Pickstar and Demas as well, because this is your surprise trio, and they are so incredibly aggressive for the fact that this is their first FNCS finals, right? And yet they are styling on everyone that they meet.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare to see teams and players perform so well, right? Obviously, last year we had Chap who burst onto the scene, got, you know, a couple second places, which was really impressive. But even then, Chap was playing with like a very experienced player in Teeny, right? You know, he's playing with someone who's got that top pedigree. All 3 of these guys aren't players who you consider having that top pedigree. They aren't players with that type of experience, but they are playing like veterans, right? You know, they're not even like playing scared or anything. You know, like I see people doing like the very easy, like lazy comparison of like, oh, they're like Kamiseti, you know, of course, because Polish trio or whatever. But they're actually like fragging when needed. Like these guys are so impressive.
They're Polska Guruming, as I believe Taco said earlier on. And we're going to head back to Taco and Takata now because we've only got one more game for day 1 of the Major 1 finals, and it's arrived.
But the way that the day has been so far, though, I really wish that we could just see those next 6 matches immediately, as is Takata. But we are going to have to leave things up to just being a pleasant surprise, because that's the way the leaderboard has played out so far. And game number 6, we get to see what happens next.
You don't have to wait long, Taco. Last match of the day. So many storylines being put into place. Last chance qualifier teams in the top of the leaderboard. Vico, Veno, Flixie leading the pack. But then we've got another favorite going into today. Swizzy, Queasy, Merstash. They're in 7th place. This is a contender that a lot of people thought would be able to take down the whole tournament. They've just had difficulties at Seaport being contested. Some games didn't get any points, and just in a similar situation is gonna be Cherry, Cammy, and Seti, that hopefully after the whole day they can at least close it out with 1 win under their belt in this off-spawn engagement.
One that could just at least give them some mental peace of mind to know. To be fair, though, in the last couple of lobbies, there have been a huge amount of third-party exchanges, but Flixie might have just recognized the fact that Veno in a whole world of trouble here. He's got to go and try to save his teammate. And this is our leading team right now, Takata. For them to take a spill this early on at Flooded Frogs, that would be so bad for their overall gameplay heading into day 2, because it gives other teams the chance to catch up.
We're good though. We're good. I was like, what went wrong, Taco? I'm seeing Veno's going down. Like, what's going on? It was a beam out of the sky, it seems. Maybe unlucky bus path. Something didn't go their way, but fortunately enough, it was so far away that they're gonna get the reboot. Saw Haijo getting close, but nothing confirmed yet, as Akira has been completely cracked. And it looks like for the first time, Kamiseti and Chari are kind of leading in terms of this early game engagement. But as you see in the minimap at the bottom right, there's other trios that kind of know of this, and once this fight ends, a whole new one's gonna begin.
The problem is we've seen Cammy, Seti, and Shari have the advantage HP-wise and still fizzle out ultimately when it came to taking those early game fights. Still a big advantageous position here, but Akira gotta close in, knows that Johnny's been cracked, trying to see if he can double up on those eliminations. Akira, though, pays the price. Podesai trying to come up massive yet again, but he won't be able to play hero this time around.
This is it. Finally, wait, hold on. Pause my thought. I forgot the third party's gonna come through. As right now, Cammy felt the glory, felt the excitement, but it only lasted for half a second. As now, Seti shortly after is gonna get cracked. And just like that, it looks like this third party is looking increasingly dangerous for Cammy, Seti, and Churi.
Especially if you're Seti, just dealing with the sheer numbers disadvantage. As now, only one left rolling around here, and that's going to be Shari off in the distance, but they'll have to deal with that problem later. Hydro, Trexer, they've opted. Why go towards Flooded Frogs when we can just hit Lost Lake instead? We know what type of action's taking place here.
Exactly, as Robin now is going to look for a quick replace or maybe even an opening to jump on in with that shotgun, but so far, nothing found. It's got to be careful. The edits come through, drop the 17 shield. And now both trios being so healthy in terms of shield, it might just end up in a disengage from Hydro and his trio.
But Bepro's team has profited massively. 4 eliminations to start things off with. They might not have done all the damage, but they're not the only ones trying to get these early game value elims. As Adams unexpecting that shot from that side, but now Rad's gonna be able to provide a little bit of coverage here, using this bush on the edge of Hopeful Heights to try and stay concealed for the time being. Pixoski as well, waiting for an opportunity.
I'm surprised how much ammunition they're using. I mean, being so early into the match, you can see there's a limited amount of AR shots to be used here. As Cryfalls is gonna switch to the shotgun, as he does have more. But with just 14 bullets left in the AR, if they end up getting into a box fight, that's only enough for 1 or maybe even 2 eliminations here.
They're just trying to hold down the high ground, but Pixoski taking an approach from the side, doesn't get the catch. The tag that he was hoping for at the end of it all is Rad's now gonna try and pick up the pieces.
Looking for an edit, looking for anything he can possibly take here as the 2v2 continues, but with no materials to their name. Mini's gonna be popped alongside a Big here, and I don't think this fight's gonna end well for either team as the third party's gonna come through. It's Noah Riley who wants to close this one out. Chap gets right on in. Shots getting connected onto Rads, and it looks like that's gonna be a free knock for Chap as they continue on forwards. Frozy now too, looking to see if he can even escape.
Yeah, these are valuable elimination points together as well. If you are Chap, Noah Riley, and Yanis, they've been kind of lagging behind the curve, and they don't want to find themselves too separated from where that top end leaderboard is at heading into day 2. They would love to just kind of run down some early elims, be able to prioritize their positioning a little bit more in that mid game as well. Noah Riley hasn't scouted out the fact that Frozy was inside of the building itself, just blocking off his view, but Noah Riley's still giving chase. It almost feels inevitable at this point before Frozy goes down.
Yeah, shots are gonna come through. Knock shortly after. And I mean, I think they're gonna leave it at that. Not sure where the last player is, but a quick 2 eliminations is more than enough. As we look at Walks, Malabuka, and Ping, who are gonna take out Batman. Volko is fully cracked as well, as they're gonna continue the aggression, I assume, with the amount of damage that they've already done. As Volko now gets trapped. Both players looking to see how they can play on the defensive here. Fastroki, Volko are put into shambles as Volko goes down. Now all left up to Fastroki. 2 eliminations on the board already for Malabuka. Ping and Walks, and it looks like they'll be able to make it 3 here if they can catch up to Fastroki, but with the Oni mask, it might take a little bit of time.
Yeah, but you also have Malibuka's accuracy. That's going to make that a little bit easier. And a big win as well, being able to completely take over Sakura Stadium just outside of Tukul Terrace and Nightshift Forest, because it's going to give them a lot of value metal and hard material. Always nice to gather early on so you can just play out those later box fights, make them a little bit more difficult for other teams to try and aggress you.
Pixie, Vanya, and Marius have chosen to take the elevated position here on a fight that has already finished with Noah Riley, Pixie, and co. But from what I'm seeing is they have used the Oni masks. They've gotten out of that situation, but Demas, Darm, and Pix, on the other hand, are going to be continuing to play aggressive. They've already got one as they start to hunt down Pink.
And Nebs trying to provide a little bit of cover fire here to see if Pink can try to get away, but with the way that Pink and Nebs are so split currently, Demas, Pix, Darm, they're gonna opt to just take things by force here, Takada, as they continue to push their way up the mountain face. And Demas gonna pause for a moment here. Pix might have bit off a little bit more than he could chew. That knock is massive. In fact, it's gonna be the third party exchange because of Gripe's team.
Some of that awareness that has to be put into play. It was difficult because the line of sight was blocked by that big snowy mountain, but it's gonna cause Darm and Demas to have to play as a duo now. Come back later. I'm not even sure if they got the reboot card, so it's gonna be up to them to kind of play this one slowly now. On the positive side, I guess they already had an elimination, but it was Pix's elimination, which is the issue, even though I'm sure they did a bit of damage, so hopefully it's enough to kind of withstand these initial zones.
Tough break though, for sure. They're not the only ones trying to deal with it. Vico's team seemingly going through it a little bit ever since that early hiccup of Vena having getting beamed out of the sky by flooded frogs. It's definitely put a little bit of a halt towards their initial search strategy. And they're trying to get something going over by Pump Power, but the way that they're falling back, they might even run smack dab into another team entirely in F9. Sure enough, lingering, probably just hoping that he could get some backup from his boys instead. It's gonna be all Vika, Veno, Flixie, just taking care of that elimination.
Looks like they're not done yet though. It's Kaid, Malapi, and Cringe who are going to be on the mountain close by. Instant Oni mask from Veno, Vico, Flixie. They're hungry in this last match as they continue to apply some pressure, but the regroup is going to come through. A third party potentially getting closer as they have to be a bit careful here.
I think part of the problem too is that Vico having to play for that reboot didn't necessarily get to farm material he would have liked, but it might not matter when you're able to connect shots like that. Cade realizing it's more than just one team looking at me, it's also the leftovers of Pink's trio that he's trying to deal with here. And Veno, Vico, Flixie, they are more than healthy enough. They're content, at least for the time being, to continue to sit at the bottom of this mountain face. Surely they can hear the noise breaking out above them.
Something I love so much about Vico, Veno, and Flixie is they're always so aware of when they're taking fights, what's going on in their surroundings, how close any potential third parties are. They're always kind of minimizing that risk, and they do such a good job at it. It's exactly why they're able to kind of take these many fights and know when to disengage if they need to, but it looks like they're just going to continue with the rotate on through, maybe even recharge their water sprite before they continue forwards.
Might as well claim the sprite shine if you're that nearby. Sky Scroll and Eyedrop in their surge base though, they were able to create so much success in that last lobby and really are just the definition, Takada, of never give up. Because I think most players, if left in that kind of situation, would have just assumed that heal off is gonna play out against my favor. Instead, Sky, Eyedrop, Scroll, they continue to just kind of turbo through, and that quick stat says a lot. The fact that they are leading all teams in damage overall, that's a hefty amount to be putting out.
Yeah, especially consistently in a set lobby of this caliber. It's just that much more difficult. Marius now looking for a tag onto some of the players rotating in late, but it looks like Vico has got it knocked down. Veno looking to pick him back up. Looking at the mini-map, I only see one trio in sight. Either it was to the Storm or Nebs, Chino, and Pink hit some nasty shots.
It's a lot of time, though, to commit to playing the Storm, Takada. Even for a team like Veno, Flixie, and Vico, we've seen them do this type of strategy before. It is just a lot of time invested. And they're going to have to eventually charge their way into the edge of zone, and they know that they're trailing ever so slightly behind Pink's trio. But I'm not sold that they're willing to commit to an all-out engagement.
Speaking about all-out engagements, from the start of this major finals for Camiseti and Chari, they're gonna want a big game to close this one out. They do have another 6 matches tomorrow to make a comeback, but it all starts now if they're able to at least close it out on a solid match. For Teeny, Harris, and Scavido, we've seen they've just continuously played for eliminations, non-stop third parties, non-stop aggression in this trio. And Malabuka, Walks, and Ping doing a great job of kind of fighting back.
The problem there for Teeny's team is Malabuka's trio fully understanding how pivotal this mountain elevation is on the Big Bend tunnel side. They know that there's going to be plenty of teams. They're going to be rotating in a little bit later towards that edge of zone, and when you're so high up, they're even able to get a good overview onto what's happening by Shogun's arena itself, and it's going to make things a little bit more difficult as well for the team trying to full out claim Shogun's arena, dealing with another team in such a high ground position.
Yeah, I mean, in the last game, Vanya, Marius, and Pixie were able to have Shogun's arena throughout those moving zones throughout the end game. And if they're able to do it again back to back, I mean, that's a good amount of positioning and just odds in their favor of having a solid performance. Being already 3rd place now going into this last match, a big game. Not even a big game, I mean, just outperforming the other trios above them is all they need to do to take that 1st place spot. As we look back onto Darm, Demus, and Pix, who hopefully are able to pick up their trio here, but they might just not even have the reboot card. I don't think they do.
This would be tough regardless, even if they did have that reboot card. Last medkit just about for Demus, 4 bandages on Darm. It is a very dire situation that our young Polish trio has found themselves in, but still, for a day 1 performance overall, in the grand scheme of things, Takada, they have set themselves up quite nicely for coming in strong on day 2. Match 6 here to try and close things out. V, Teeny, Atris, they just want to get themselves heavily on the board.
But they gotta be very careful as TD's already been cracked now. Gonna have to play defensive for a second here until they recuperate. This is a trio that qualified through the last chance qualifier and now is in 4th place on the leaderboard going into this last match of day 1 for the EU Major Finals. They do not want to get eliminated before making it to the late game. Not too good in terms of materials. They've been constantly fighting, so it's kind of shown off in terms of how many mats they do have, but in terms of damage, it's also not looking too good.
I definitely want to fight though. Want to maybe swap out some of these kinetic blades that Atris is rocking with for a Void Oni mask if players have got him. Ju, 2 separated from his team, but it might not matter. Teeny gonna get knocked, eliminated first. Atris gonna try to jump into his box, but with the twin fire, it's no use. Only Svi left to pick up what's been left behind.
135 above, but at what cost? Lost Haris, Teeny now gone down as well. Scavi having to do whatever he possibly can to get out of this situation, but Shark Ju are going to be able to clean that one up.
Shark and Ju, for a moment there, it really seemed like Ju was going to be in trouble. Demus beamed inside of the bush. No time to even respond or try to close off that wall, but darn, what a way to save your teammate.
Not gonna let that one slide too easily, as now Demas is gonna be able to be brought back, and not only that, they're gonna be able to get the loot from those eliminations. I'm not sure how much it might be, but it might just be enough to continue on forwards, as Marius now has taken some shots. It's gonna be, I believe, was that Noah close by on the other side of that box, but Demas now have to find a way to get back to zone.
Even with that elimination, though, they're just barely above that damage threshold. They've got Chino and Nebs on the other side of their walls, but Chino immediately eliminated Nebs, soon to follow. Darm and Demas are a force to be reckoned with.
These players now as a duo in their first major finals, taking down veterans like it's nothing, player after player, setting themselves up for a potential of solidifying themselves at the top half of this leaderboard. Vico, Veno, Flixie looking to maintain their spot in the throne, currently in the first place position going into this match. They do have to rotate the zone though here, so I highly doubt they're going to be looking for any engagements. It's more focused on the rotate. The issue is 86 below. They do have to get some damage done. Will they try and get the zone first and then look back for those tags, versus just all out go for a fight? That's the question.
Oof. Veno, from the moment that he was looking up, he was trying to see whether or not he'd have to actually box up underneath iDrop's current surge base. And now it's going to be the option. Place the Void Oni TP a little bit ahead. Make sure that you don't have to expend any more unnecessary material. Veno, Vico, and Flixie, the Takata, they have been the clear favorites heading into this Major 1 finals. So for them to now be in our match 6, such a crazy position, but Robin might help alleviate some of that pressure thanks to Vico getting good elimination onto him. But still, this is our top dog team, and yet they're not in the spot that you would expect them to be at this stage.
What a pick.
Not for this lobby.
It gave them a bit to breathe, but like you're saying, the issue is zone pulled so incredibly far from Vico, Flixie, and Veno that if they take a fight now, it gives them that risk of getting stuck in the storm. So either they have to do an early rotate here and take a fight when they're closer to zone, or do something like now, instantly. For Nako, Kire, and Haruko, though, being only 4 below is a tragedy, as they just need one more shot on any player in the surrounding areas. The good news is, though, while his teammates look for damage, Kire might be able to fish up a little bit, but Flixie's been cracked. Veno's been knocked as well. Both players go down. It's all up to Vico, our #1 trio going into this match, now left as a solo. It's all or nothing for Vico here. The zone starts closing. It's a 1 versus 3. He's gonna have to use the Oni mask here to try and get closer to zone.
The problem is trying to TP ahead when there's so many other players surrounding you. It's just so difficult. Sky, iDrop scroll one more time from the low ground, continuing to try and work their way through. Some of these other teams, not quite sure what to expect on the other side of these walls, but Sky, very confident in his ability. He's got to be feeling it right now too. Seti just completely devoured the moment that he showed his face.
Oni Master are going to come through. Demas, Darm inside of the zone already. Looking back on all the trios rotating in, they put themselves in prime positioning despite being a duo for, I would say, a majority of this mid to late game. But Vico's even going to get a knock on the trio. Goes back towards the zone. One refresh could be all it takes, as he's only down to 8 builds, 8 wooden builds. He needs an elimination. He needs a refresh. He has to go into a box here.
He could always look to play the medkits as well if this doesn't come out in his favor up against the likes of Cringe. In fact, but it's just moments too late and not going to be able to get that HP off. Our #1 team of the lobby has fallen. That's going to open up the door for somebody else to step up, make their debut here, see if they can overtake. Sky, though, inside of the bush, nowhere safe.
From second place, iDrop, this opened up an opportunity for them to take that first place spot. The issue is he's lost Sky, he's lost Scroll, he's playing it as a solo with just 16 HP, no shields, no heals, just an Oni mask and a dream as the rotate comes through. Now looking to see of any potential refresh that he can hunt.
Quiet as a mouse in the underground layers, doesn't want anybody else to scout him out, but Mappy, Cade, they're just above. Surely they're gonna recognize the fact that there's a solo pickaxing through the low ground. Kinetic Blade alongside this Void Oni mask. All Eyedrop is trying to do is just make these rotates happen and stay as close to cover as possible. Demas and Darm, though, despite being a duo so early on here, Takada, they're making their presence known.
Oh, I got my eyes on them for this match. They gotta be careful though, because they're running low on materials. But right as I say that, they say, boom, quick refresh, give me those siphon mats. And I'm not even finished yet as they continue to rotate on together, playing as a duo. They hear the pressure, the chaos surrounding them. They have to be careful. Could they just find Eyedrop though? One of the top teams currently in the second place spot on the leaderboard. If they know he's a solo, if they look at him here, this could be massive.
Everybody's crouched. Everybody's trying to move as little as possible, especially if you're Eyedrop.
Oh no,
but he's starting to
Eyedrop.
pickaxe his way through.
Oh.
Demas Darm immediately scooping him out of the competition. Big refresh as well for them. They're going to keep going on this low ground endeavor.
The shutdown, but meanwhile, up above, it's what we expect to see. Merstash, Queasy, and Swizzy once again, once they make it out of Seaport, once they're able to play these late games, showing why they've had so much dominance on height, but Dorm has lost Demas. It's now a solo, 147 above. He has mats, he has a kinetic blade, even an Oni mask. He can make these rotates. It's a duo right beside on the other end of that box. Both just one shot away from getting eliminated, but he is going to choose the safer route to rotate on forwards and continue claiming as many points as possible.
The fact that he wasn't beamed out of the sky there, though, by Queasy, Swizzy, or Merstash is insanity. Darm just stuck inside of a metal cone here, hoping that he can maybe scramble together some kind of last-minute finish, but it's not going to come easy. Uppel, Fincheck, they're also in the same sort of scenario, except as a duo, but neither of them has shield. Both of them would need a siphon refresh of some capacity. Pixie loses Vanya and now going to be forced to continue working his way down through this low ground, but he's got just one chance to connect another shot if they want to make sure that they have this full claim on the mountain face.
This is so difficult. I don't think they want to get any lower because there's a chance that this zone pulls right back up that mountain. So if they go down, it's going to be difficult to get back up. But Dorm has been eliminated. 319 points is where he's going to stay for now as Comeback, Mixon, and Blaha continue to take shots on all these players with just 15 seconds left before we know where this next zone pulls. Tayson's in the zone. Queasy's still up above on height, controlling that elevation as Marius continues to play as a duo with Pixie.
Marius, he spotted out Nathan. Marius trying to confirm. All he needs is a knock, and then they can get plenty of material, hopefully, to just add to the count here. But Pixie, with that Shogun's medallion, the Invis, could definitely give him a huge boost in his favor. Swizzy, Queasy, and Merstash, though, they're going to manage to connect to the other end of this mountain face as Tayson in the dirt doesn't have a chance to bring this one back. It's all down to True Legs.
Left as a solo. Feet in the mud, gets knocked down as Marius. Pixie now forced to elevate themselves up this mountain, but in the meantime, it's Queasy's trio up above getting free pickings on all the players that are trying to scale up this hill. The shots are getting connected. Yanis, Chap doing what they can, but what happened? What went wrong? Swizzy's left as a solo now. Queasy's been eliminated. Merstash has been eliminated. It is all up to Swizzy to clutch these last moments.
Comeback, Blaha, and Mixon went for the high take attempt, and it comes at a cost. Comeback having lost his teammates. Now it's going to be Noah Riley, Chap, and Yanis, one of our few teams that's still left together here in this endgame. They recognize the fact it's Marius, it's Pixie, it's only a duo, but they need to confirm these eliminations first.
Sliding down the mountain, they have a few builds left. Marius needs to make something happen as the action goes right into his box. Swizzy gets taken out. Pixie's still up. He has that invisibility medallion. Isn't going to be enough to clutch it out, though. It's Comeback up above. It's Yanis, Noah Riley, and Chap. A full trio on the low, holding strong as they look up. They start shooting. All they have to do is finish these last two players off as Comeback takes down one, and it's free pickings for Noah, Yanis, and Chap down below. But be careful, I might have spoke too soon. Noah does finish it off in the end. Comeback goes down and they secure that victory royale for the last match of the day.
What matters most is the fact that Combat was able to buy his team just a few more placements, but Chap, Yanis, and Noah Riley, they are here to play, closing things out on day one with the Victory Royale has got to be a sensational feeling because it's been a relatively rough day for them so far, Takada, and this could be that massive swing of points that they need to really boost that momentum heading into day two.
100%. I mean, they were on the bottom half of the leaderboard going into this last match. So not only have they picked up a bit of momentum, but they've also picked up some extra placements on the leaderboards to bump themselves back up. Also, thinking about trios, I mean, Queasy, Swizzy, Meristache, they were holding on to height for a good amount of time during that match. They had the troubles in the early games before. Will it be enough to kind of help them climb up? What position's Noah going to be in now? How is it looking in terms of the leaderboard? There's so many questions, Taco, but what I do know is we've had some incredible matches today.
Yeah, I mean, there is no other takeaway other than the fact that our players are playing out of their mind as far as day one EU Major 1 Finals is concerned, but we want to see what the leaderboard is all about. That's going to do it for us here on day one, Takada, and for now, we'll see what Frankie, Levin, and Minnie have to say.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the final 6 games of the Major 1 Finals, and they're definitely delivering so far. But I have to say, Mini Miner, did you have this Victory Royale on your bingo card?
No, I don't think I did at all. I mean, especially since the way that the day has been going for these guys, their best placement was 14th in game number 1. So it's been a bit of a downward trend for this team, particularly since we know how good each of them are individually, how much experience they have, Levin. It's a bit of a surprise to see them not doing so well when you look at it on paper, but a really nice end to the day for them. And as Taco mentioned, it's going to do them wonders for their points and for their momentum.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about these guys coming into this just because I feel like the story, you know, for them for a lot of this season was just like, hey, the beef with Reason is crazy. Like, off spawn, what's going to happen if Reason qualifies? Like, what are these guys going to do? And then I feel like everyone will sort of forget, wait, okay, these guys are Uncon now. What do they look like, Uncon? Like, how do they actually handle that? Are they able to get surge consistently? Are they able to be in good positions and, like, dominate from marshmallows like we've seen other teams do in other regions? The answer to that question today is been an astounding no, to be honest, until this final game. So a bit of life, and I think you need that sometimes in that last game, right? Because if this game maybe had gone how the other games have gone, Frankie, you might go into tomorrow with the vibes incredibly low, right? But at least you use this to sort of give yourself a bit of momentum going into tomorrow.
Although we have to make it known and remind anyone who doesn't know yet that there is no 1.5 times multiplier on the points tomorrow. It's the same point scoring system as we had on day number 1, which is